and always someone I think that we could depend on for giving us creative ideas, creative answers, and always having students and her school in the forefront of every decision she made. With that, I'll open it up to Dr. Porras for a moment.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Mankey and Principal Keller. I think all the words that Principal Keller shared certainly reflect everything that I can recall working with Linda. She was the principal at Robert Down when I arrived in the district, and so my work with her was almost exclusively, except for this last year or so, with the admin team, and the same kind of behaviors and traits and I'd certainly apply. Her humor was a legend with the team. You could hear her laughter no matter where you were, and it was just this genuine laughter right from the belly, and it just really brought a lot of happiness to the people around her. Just an incredibly intelligent leader who had a good sense of what students needed and a good sense of what was good trend in the profession itself. And I always think a lot about our impact on the profession, and she certainly had an impact on the profession of elementary school teachers, especially, and certainly special ed in her other work in the state. And, she was also, I thought, and reflected in those words, such a courageous leader. I mean, she had no problem meeting with anyone, regardless of their opinion, and especially when their opinion perhaps was one that was not conducive to a good environment for the school. And she had no fear of talking with them and bringing the tone down and trying to find a mediation between whatever needed to happen. And it was a remarkable talent that she had. And last but not least, I think her absence in this meeting, I don't think she's here, probably reflects this. She never looked for the limelight. She operated from behind the scenes and always wanted her staff and her students and her colleagues on the admin team and whomever to get the credit for the work that happened. And that's one of the marks of a great leader. And so, and I just personally appreciated the personal relationship with Linda. Certainly will miss her in the district, and I know we'll see her around for sure. And just grateful for the time that I've had to work with her as a leader here in Pacific Grove. So thank you, Linda, for everything that you have done.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. We'll move on to recognizing an employee that has been in the district for 32 years. Maria Tajner, holding several roles, and I'll let Principal Rogaman say a few words.
Thank you very much, Director Mankey. It's my absolute pleasure to talk a little bit about a wonderful person, Maria Tajner. There are unsung heroes in our district, and that's kind of the way I think of her. I first saw her when I was working at the high school, and I was wandering the main hall during break, and one of her jobs in food service was to man kind of like a snack cart that was out there. And I walked up and I said hi to her, and I can't remember what she said to me, but it made me laugh. And those of you that might know, I coached, and in the fall, at times it was kind of hard for me to come by a laugh. And so I started to make that part of my daily trek, was out to the main hall where I could spend some time with Mrs. Tajner, just so I could share a laugh with her, and also gain some insight into the students that were at PG High, because Mrs. Tajner knew them all and loved them all. When you think about the jobs that she held, both working in food service and then also with the BASRP program at Forest Grove, she did two of the most important jobs in our district. She fed our students and she loved our students in that daycare program. And that's kind of the other part that I wanted to talk about, is when I would wander out to the playground at times after school, there might be a student who was in tears. And if that was the case, it was probably Mrs. Tajner that was sitting right next to the student, trying to make the student feel a little bit better. And sure enough, 6 minutes later, the student was back out there smiling, laughing, and playing, because that student knew that he was loved. Mrs. Tajner had a deep, deep heart for students, especially students that might be facing challenges in their lives. I had the great pleasure of teaching her and her son. In fact, I think of all the people that we talked about here tonight, I think I've taught 6 of their children. So I guess that happens when you've been around long enough. But Mrs. Tajner was another one of those people that poured her heart and her soul into the job and understood that one of the most important things about learning is that when students come to school, that they feel safe and that they feel loved. And when those two things are in place, then students are freed up to learn as much as they possibly can. And Mrs. Tashner gave that gift to our district for 32 years. And so we thank her from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you, Buck. Just to add to that a little bit, when I first came to the district 15 years ago, Maria Tashner was one of the negotiators on the CSEA team. And a very, very talented negotiator she was. And so I just, we got to know one another quite well and always appreciated her honest, frank opinions. And anyway, just really want to acknowledge her for that as well. And then now, last but not least, I'll introduce Dr. Porras to speak a little bit about Principal Bell, who has 37 years in our school district. Dr. Porras?
Like gum on a shoe, right? I'll be coining a few phrases from Matt Bell this evening, but I did try to emulate my hero as best I could with my tie this evening. 37 years in a district is a long time, and you can't last that long in a place and not have a pretty amazing impact on the foundational aspects of the way a district works, especially in a district our size. And I obviously had the great pleasure of meeting Matt when I arrived in the district 13 years ago. And he was the principal at the middle school at the time. And a series of events led him right to the high school the next year. And there he was until we are now here. Coming from Oakland with the fan of the Tower of Power, and coming from Santa Barbara, due to his Marx Brothers type humor, he was known as the Groucho Gaucho. So we appreciate that he brings that sense of humor with us, and probably one of the most foundational parts of what Matt offered the district was just this unabashed humor that no matter how tense things got, it was always about the issue and never about the person. And he taught that lesson all the time, and he lived that lesson. When I asked Angela to pass me along his work files, holy smokes, that work file is just incredibly stacked high. And so I started reading through well over 40 letters of references for the various jobs that he's taken in this district. Matt has served pretty much every role as a math teacher at the high school, an assistant principal at the high school, principal of Robert Down, principal at the middle school, and of course, principal of Home of the Breakers. And in those letters, there was a common theme that lasted through almost all of them, a few themes. And I quote, the passion, he has an incredible passion to serve. He's wholly dedicated to students and families to the point of being selfless. He's a thoughtful, humble, and focused leader who always looks out for his staff and wants to make sure that they are well taken care of. And I think there were others in there, but those alone will tell you who Matt Bell was and is. And I know that his staff would certainly agree. In my time with the management team, I always wanted to talk about how we could unify our small district and be a unified team. And Matt took that charge very seriously, and always thought a lot about how he could help serve not only the schools that he was at, but the entire district. You see Matt at almost every high school event, but he also showed up at other district events for other schools, and just because he's Matt, and decided to come and be there. And was remarkable to see that. His activities, especially at the high school, when you think about the support and changes that he's made, and pretty much every bond measure that we've had and have enjoyed, the original Measure A, the two Measure Ds, the tech bond, Matt has been involved with all of those, and his personal connections with the people in the community here were, I think, foundational to getting those passed. And again, his connections in the community speak volumes. His graduation speeches are legend. Who can forget the lilies and the wreath on the table, as many of us remember. But as his speeches always showed tremendous caring for the students that he served. He would call out individual students from years past and mark and note their achievements. He did have stories from students everywhere, and he did have and has continued to have an amazing impact on the profession through his service on statewide communities. The AXA award alone should speak volumes. As one of our student reps noted, there are 3,893 high schools in the state of California. One high school principal gets picked for that award. Matthew Bell was the choice, and rightfully so. I guess to coin a phrase, he's not normal. How can that be normal? And so I will say his impact to the state has been tremendous, and people look to his leadership to help mold the kind of policies that we look for in our schools in the state. There are a lot of other things that could be said about Matt, and I could be here for hours. I admire him greatly. I learned tremendous lessons from him. Words that come to mind that I mentioned at the graduation, and I'll repeat again. He's a very kind, humble, compassionate, kooky, humorous, incredibly intelligent, and a remarkable human being. He'll be missed in our leadership team. He'll be missed at the school sites. He lives only a couple blocks away, so I'm sure we'll call on him from time to time. But he and Linda will be off on their adventures, and they will certainly look back fondly at the amazing work that he's done. Matthew, my brother, thank you so much for the work that you've done for all of the students in the community of Pacific Grove these past 37 years.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. And yes, I agree. There's really, there's not, we would be here hours to honor Matt and all the things he's done in the district. And as part of our admin team, I know our team is truly, truly going to miss him. So with that, just as I was sitting here, I tried to total up all the years of service of people that are retiring this past year. And if I did my math right, it's 182 years of dedicated service to our school district. And I think that's just truly amazing. So with that, thank you all. And Debbie, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Billy. And if this was normal circumstances, we would shake all of your hands. We know that that's not going to happen, unfortunately. So on behalf of the board, I do want to congratulate each and every one of the retirees, and seriously thank you for all your years of service to the district, and have made a big difference in how our district is today. So don't be too bored now. Find something to do. But thank you very much, and congratulations on your retirement. Okay, we're good, Dr. Porras?
I think we're good, and I want to echo as well. I want to have to let you finish there first, but
no, you're fine. I'm done.
Well, congratulations and a thank you to all of our retirees. And just looking down the list and having worked with all of these folks, I could spend hours complimenting and commenting all of their amazing work. But as I said for Matt, not a single one of them did this work for themselves. They were very tremendously dedicated to our students, and they showed it every single day. It was just an honor to work with all of them, and I'm grateful for what they've done for us. So all of our retirees, from the Office of the Superintendent and myself personally, thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. Okay, we're gonna move on to our regular agenda. So we are on communications now. Written communication. I have that. I don't think we've received any emails other than emails regarding coming back to school in the fall, and just the COVID in general. Is there anything else, board, that you've received? I won't go down the line, but if you did, go ahead and speak up.
There was one about the reconfiguration and concerns about that kind of after the fact, after the last meeting.
Yeah, I kind of consider that part of the whole returning to school in the fall.
Okay.
But did you receive one like recently? Like,
no, that was last week, I think.
oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, board comments. I'm going to go first tonight, board, if you don't mind. And please bear with me, because this is a one-time deal here. And I'm going to take the opportunity to invite Mayor Bill Peak to join us
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for being here. I believe, let's see, I'm sorry, the date is escaping me, but a few weeks ago at the city council meeting, you were so nice to honor Principal Matt Bell in his award. And I know we've heard a lot about that tonight, but I did want to invite you. So our community here for the school district can hear the proclamation that was presented to Principal Bell. And if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity, and it's my distinct pleasure to recognize Matt Bell as statewide high school principal of the year. As has already been mentioned, he's awarded the Association of California School Administrators Statewide High School Principal of the Year, a prestigious and competitive award. Matt has been depended on to lead at schools across the district, elementary, middle, community, and high school. He's become a staple in the PG community and dedicated himself to making educational experiences for our youth a top priority. Positive attitude and vision for PGHS to be inspiring and effective. What is best for our student body is always the filter for any decisions made. Matt Bell has established a welcoming environment for family participation and education by recognizing and respecting diverse family goals and aspirations for students. And Matt is known for his effective collaborative efforts, listening to all and developing relationships with a range of stakeholders and policymakers to provide excellence in education. Therefore, I, Bill Peake, Mayor of the City of Pacific Grove, congratulate Matt Bell on his achievement as statewide high school principal of the year and recognize his outstanding efforts and dedication to educating the youth of our community. Thank you so much, Matt, and I wish you well in retirement.
Mayor Peake, thank you again so much. You know, and board, please bear with me because I am going to take this opportunity selfishly to thank you, Matt. I'm sorry, I know you're humble, but you know, I say a lot that teachers make a difference in students' lives every day. And you all know that. That's why you're doing this. But Matt, you made a difference for me. You don't know this, but you're part of the reason why I'm on this board. You made a difference in me with my oldest son. You may not remember, but it was quite a few years ago. And for what you did for me and took the time to make a difference for me and my son made me want to be a part of it. So I appreciate it and I thank you. Sorry for getting emotional, but I just wanted to take the opportunity because, like I said, it's a one-time shot here. I just want to make sure I get that out there and make sure you know how much I appreciate you. Mayor Peake, thank you so much again. Matt Bell, I mean, I don't want to, you're muted. I don't know if you would like to say something, and no pressure if you don't.
You know, this is all of us. Every person on the board, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, everyone else. And so it's awful having my name said so many times, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, but the reality is I get credit for the work that all of us do together. And I have been honored and have cherished every moment that I've had with this district to work with so many people. And as Buck had said, how he has been teaching many of the kids, and I realized that many of the kids that I taught are actually teachers in my own school and within this district, and how we have built this community from within the school district to within the city itself in partnership with the city. It's all of us working together. And so the thanks that you give to me really is thanks to everybody. And it has been just a joyful ride. Sometimes more joyful than others, but just a joyful ride. Thank you so much. Love you all.
Thank you, Matt. And Mayor Peak, thank you again for joining us. Okay, we are still on board comments, so I appreciate the board allowing me to take some extra time here tonight for that. So I'll go now to Christy, if you have any comments.
Yes, I just want to say it's nice you got choked up, Debbie, because the reality is when you're reading text of what people say, it's moving, but within all those just prose are feelings. And there's something about working in high schools where there's an opportunity to make huge life decisions for kids, and a lot of times there are choices made that aren't great. So to have somebody at the helm that can pull kids back and help direct and move them forward is wonderful. So a huge thank you for that. And Debbie, very touching to share the story. I would just say the culmination, how moving the graduation was, even though the county superintendent thought it was many Fridays ago, it was actually very recent. And it was where the entire nation is so worried about these students losing proms and graduations and what a horrible thing they have to suffer through. To hear that and have those concerns and then go to that graduation and see the joy, the spontaneity, the flexibility of all the families, and to be out on the raceway as they went by and were waving flags. It just, what a great way to end the year for you, Matt, to end your career. It was marvelous. So all the work that went into it was absolutely perfect, and it just came off smashingly. So that's my comment.
Agreed. Thanks. Thank you, Christy. John Path, any comments?
Briefly, congratulations to all 8 of these people, Lisa and Joel and Elaine. You know, the nicest comment I ever got about a teacher was from a parent who just said, Elaine has done more for my child in math than anyone else. And he couldn't even believe it, you know, anybody could do better, which is quite a compliment, actually. Elise, I put on the Robert Down Aloha shirt in honor of Linda, who is probably the reason why when I said, well, what does the board do? And she was willing to sit with me for an hour, and I thank her for that. Matt, congratulations. I hope you have a terrific retirement, and it's been a real pleasure to try and work alongside you in the manner in which the board does. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Brian?
Just a couple things. I think I'd mentioned it briefly during the last meeting, but just a hats off to everybody that was involved with the graduation and making that happen. We were, I believe, the first ones to do it. And I only saw somebody from Laguna Seca lose their mind once during the entire thing, and it was at the end. Some kids hanging out the window. Don't hang out the window. It was great. It was different, and that it came off at all is a testament to everybody that is involved and to the district and its ability to persevere. For all the retirees, 182 cumulative years, which is just remarkable, 23 on average. I have had the opportunity to spend time with a few of them, with Linda, who took some time last 2 years ago to just sit down and talk forever with me. And it was fantastic. And she was so generous. And Matt, on numerous occasions. And now I'm going to stop, except for to mention one last thing, Matt. And I'm pointing at you on the screen, even though it's like I can see you down there. 37 is my favorite number for a number of reasons. It is prime number. It's a great way to go out. Thank you for everything that you brought to the district. It will echo and ripple on forever. Thank you.
Hey, Brian. John Walton. Comments? Is he on?
There we go.
There you are.
Just wanted to say, yeah, the graduation was great. I appreciate everybody pulling that off for the seniors. It was great to see them all out there having a good time. And I want to thank them all for behaving much better than I would have at that age on a racetrack. So congratulations to all of them for their very well-controlled victory lap out there. That's it.
Thank you, John. Okay, superintendent report, Dr. Porras.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't take long because I want to honor the rest of the time, and we've said a lot tonight. Just a couple comments. The first, also just a congratulations and thanks to the entire high school staff, especially, but all the volunteers from all the other schools that came and helped to make the graduation so successful. It really was a special event, and you know, I think all of us were so worried about what might happen or could happen, and then just when it was happening, just enjoyed it and loved every moment of it. And I thought it was a beautiful way for that to work out. So thanks to all the staff for helping and making that work, and also for the folks at Laguna Seca who offered their venue, and to all of the high schools in the county, and certainly also to Dr. Gus. I don't think she's on the screen anymore, but she really went out of her way to make this event happen. It would not have happened without her work, and so I want to appreciate that too. The other reflection I have is that I was looking at the recognition of retirees and earlier today, and we talk a lot about, again, the teamwork in the district, and this entire squad of retirees really actually reflect our district really well. We have managers, we have classified staff, confidential staff as well, teaching staff. It's a blend of all of them, and it's just a really wonderful commentary in terms of how valuable all of our employees are to the district, and how everybody makes a leadership difference regardless of their job description. And I'm just really incredibly proud of that. And I think it's just a nice reflection. I was thinking about that, and appreciate all our current staff members who continue to make such a great difference for all our students. And so I'll leave it at that tonight. We got a big meeting. So.
Thank you. Okay, PGUSD staff comments. So all the attendees, please bear with me. I'm probably going to explain this a couple times tonight, but you may have noticed the chat feature is turned off. So what I'm going to do tonight, and this is for public comment as well as individuals desiring to address the board, is I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to click on the participants. If you hover down at the bottom of your screen, click on the participants, and then over on the right of the screen, you should see 3 little dots. And if you, I think, just left click, maybe right click, but I think it's left click, and you can raise your hand, and you will be put in the queue in order. And then we're going to allow you to come in, and you don't have to be on video if you don't want to, but we do obviously need to be on audio. So we'll see how this goes, and see if this is better than the chat feature, which I think it will be. So we'll go ahead and open to PGUSD staff comments. And well, I saw Matt Bell, but he lowered his hand on, and on that, there's Matt. I'm going to let you in, Matt. I believe that's what I'm supposed to do. There you are.
Okay. Can you hear me now? There we go.
Yes.
Just a quick little report that yesterday there was a protest held down at the city, in front of the city police station. And there was somewhere around 18 Pacific Grove High School students that were out in front of the police station, joined by their principal, as well as Mayor Bill Peak and Chief Metalone and our SRO Hanks, City Manager Ben Harvey, Councilman Robert Hewitt, and they stood out there and they had signs in support of the issues surrounding the George Floyd death. And they were peaceful, they were respectful, they got a ton of honks and waves and ride-ons from passersby. I was photographed holding up a sign myself in solidarity with their movement as well as with them. But more than that, they were standing up for something that very likely is going to end up in their children's history book. and they were taking on a cause in a way that was non-destructive, but made their views heard, and they weren't going to be silent about this. And I got to tell you that when our kids are taking on causes like that and taking action and not being silent, it means as much to me as learning how to add or subtract or write papers, that they are engaging in their community to make it a better place. So I could not have been more proud, and just wanted to report that I did not get arrested, nor did anyone else get arrested. It was just really a moment to be proud of our kids. I suspect more of them may join in future protests. Hopefully that they too will remain nonviolent and speaking out for what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, any other staff wanting to make a comment? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, so let's see. Mr. Mejia was wanting to make a comment, but because he's a host, he can't raise his hand.
No, just want to give a quick update.
Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Just want to give a quick update on how the network upgrade is going. We've finished the design portion of it and have actually started installing over at the MDFs at each of the sites. All those cords are already in place and locked into the new configurations. We're currently running new fiber at the high school as needed. And then from there, we'll start pulling out the old fiber at Forest Grove and running the new fiber there to be able to accommodate the new network that should be in place. Handoff is scheduled to be July 3rd. So it'll give us ample time to continue to lock in our configurations. Also wanted to take the opportunity to thank all the site techs for all their hard work throughout this year. A lot of times they go unnoticed as typical things go in IT, but we've relied on them. Teachers have relied on them. Students have relied on them. They've adapted, which is not typically the quality that IT is known for, but they've adapted very, very well. So I just want to take the opportunity to recognize their hard work.
Thank you. Dr. Hadquist, did I see your hand up? Did you have something or no? No, that's okay. I thought I saw your hand.
What is it?
I thought I saw you raise your hand.
I was just clapping.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thanks. Okay. I don't see any other staff comments, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to individuals desiring to address the board. So I'm going to open this up. Again, this is just like you're in the conference room standing at the podium. So if you'd like to make a comment, address the board, please use the raise the hand feature by clicking participants. If you're on your mobile phone, I believe it should be on the lower right hand corner. There's 3 little dots. You click on that on your phone and you should get a raise hand feature. If I don't, I'll allow a few seconds for that. Okay, I'm seeing none at the moment. You will have a chance at each agenda item as well. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. I'm going to read my little spiel here. Consent agenda are items considered to be routine and or may have been discussed at a previous board meeting. There are no discussions on these items unless a member of the board has specific questions and or requests an item to be removed. Approved items are considered in full and adopted as recommended. Board, any questions, comments, concerns about the consent agenda? Christy?
Not at this time. We did move the one item over. Are we going to speak
The
about
walk-on?
Yes.
Yeah, the walk-on will be the last action item.
Okay, number I. Thank you.
Yes.
No other questions.
Okay. John Paff,
No, thank you.
Brian.
No, we're all good. Thank you.
Okay. John Walton.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by John Paff, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Public
Trustee
comment?
Crandall?
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Sean. Okay, public comment time. Also, raise your hand if you have any comments regarding the consent agenda. Sorry, Mandy. Okay, seeing none. Okay, now may I have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Before we move to the regular agenda, Dr. Porras, you had something you would like to say?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Madam President. I just wanted to take a moment through your action this evening on consent. You did approve a couple of new hires, and one of those new hires is with us this evening on the screen, sporting his brand new PG Breaker splash behind him. And I want to welcome formally Mr. Lito Garcia, who comes to us from Santa Barbara area, and he will be coming in behind Mr. Bell and taking leadership at Pacific Grove High School. He has been actually with us for a few meetings, just listening in, and tonight he will be formally hired and start on July 1, but I know that he'll be taking some time to get transitioned in as well. And so first off, just wanted to welcome Lito to the district, and then now Principal Garcia. And then I just wanted to see if it's okay, Madam President, if you just said a couple of words of hello.
Of course, please.
Thank you. Pacific Grove School Board President Crandall, Board Trustees, Superintendent Porras. It's with tremendous honor and humility that I accept the position of principal at the oldest high school within the county of Monterey, Pacific Grove High School and Pacific Grove Community High School. As a former history teacher whose parents were also educators, my mother was a second grade teacher, district administrator, site principal. My father was a secondary Spanish teacher, coach, and athletic director, and at 82 is still coaching high school football.
Wow.
I understand the importance of community, tradition, and continuity, and the need to balance these important attributes while seeking continual improvement. It is my intention to build on the successes that have been created by Mr. Bell and the hardworking educators, support staff, parents, community members, and most importantly, the students. As was mentioned, I'm bringing 26 years of experience in education with a focus on ensuring that we at Pacific Grove High School and Community High School have a commitment to cultivating a culture of shared leadership and systemic collaboration, relevant and inclusive curriculum, instruction and assessment, continuous improvement through high-performing teams, and a safe and affirming learning environment. Of equal importance to me is family. I have and always will consider the staff, students, and parents an extension of my family, and I will work tirelessly to ensure that their needs are met. Again, I want to thank you, and I look forward to the opportunity to embrace everything positive about the Pacific Grove High School and Community High School, as well as the greater Pacific Grove community. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Welcome to our family. Yay. Thanks for joining us tonight. Dr. Porras?
Oh, that's it. Good. That's just want to welcome him, and I
Okay.
just appreciate the kind of the words, and thank you for the opportunity to let him speak.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have a public hearing, so I'm opening this hearing, public hearing of tentative agreements with Pacific Grove Teachers Association at 7:43 p.m. We'll go ahead and open this. Assistant Superintendent Chin Bin Dib has presented this to us. We are familiar with this board. I'm just going to see if you have any questions or comments regarding this item before we take it to public comment. Christy?
No comments, thank you.
John Paff?
I'd like to thank the negotiating team, both for the district and for PGTA. This, you know, in the weird world in which COVID-19 has struck us, getting through and continuing these discussions and reaching something amenable to all parties, I think there could have been a significant strain put forth. I mean, we're all under some stress anyway. And I really want to thank everyone involved in this action at this point. We've reached something that we can accept and I think allows us to be financially stable while still trying to give the teachers, you know, a thank you as well. So I appreciate all that hard work.
Well said. Thank you, John. Brian?
I've got nothing to add that John didn't already say.
Okay. John Walton?
Nothing.
Okay. Thank you. Assistant Superintendent Chin Bin Dib, did you have anything other than what's presented here that you wanted to add? No pressure if not.
No, I just want to echo Trustee Paff. I thank the team of both sides to reach an agreement. And also, we appreciate the county office. It's probably the shortest amount of time for them to review AB 1200, given that, you know, we really prefer to have the retro payments to employees done by the conclusion of this fiscal year. So they understood that and they really work with us. Really it is much appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open this up for public comment. If you have any comments regarding this hearing, you can raise your hand. I'll just leave this open for a couple seconds. Okay, I have one here. We'll Shannon McCarty.
Thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the negotiation team on both sides, from our teacher perspective on PGTA as well as the district's side. I really appreciate how hard they all worked hard together to bring us to this place, and especially in these hard times, we understand how hard it really is, and we appreciate what you guys have done for us.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Seeing no other public comment at the moment, we'll go ahead and close this hearing at 7:47 p.m. Next item is action discussion A, and it's really approval of the hearing that we just had. So unless there's any other comments from the board, I will go ahead and also, for formality, open it up for public comment. And I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
No comments, Debbie.
Okay. Well, I'm waiting to see if there's any public comment. Just a couple seconds. Okay. Okay, I'm going to bring this back to the board for a motion, please.
I move that we approve the tentative agreement with Pacific Grove Teachers Association.
I'll second. Okay, thank you. We have a motion made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Debbie Crandall. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. And thank you, all members of PGT. PGTA for all the work that you guys are doing right now and always. Okay. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing 2. The district general fund budget and all other funds for fiscal year 2021. Assistant Superintendent Chinbin Dib, we have reviewed this budget recently. If there are any changes that you want to point out, or would you like to just go to the board for questions? I'm sorry, before you speak, I want to open up the hearing at 7:49 p.m. Okay. Now you can, if you have anything to add, or just go to questions. I think she's muted.
Is it at this point that I can go into the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's all yours.
Okay. Is it visible to everybody, the screen?
Not yet.
No.
We see your video.
Oh, okay. So I do need to, this is Zoom. Let me see. I do need to share the screen first. What about now?
Not yet.
Okay. So I think I have to wave a flag to ask for Mr. Mejia's help.
You hear him running down the hallway any moment now.
Yeah, that's right.
There he is.
He's there.
Who is that masked man?
Yeah.
It's Tech Man.
Is it what? Okay.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. There we go. That's why he's only 2 steps away from the office.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Okay, this is the 2020-21 adopted budget. Is a public hearing and a final budget because of the governor's order under this on the page, the order number, executive order N5620, where it officially allows school district to uncouple the adoption of LCAP and the final budget. So the district has a discretion to have the public hearing and the final budget adoption at the same time, and we chose it at the same to be presented at the same time, both the public hearing and the final budget. So let's see, I'm gonna do slideshow. There we go. Okay. So before we launch into the details, is a requirement, you know, for AB 1200 and AB 2756. We need to talk about the budget because this is really the first official document going to the new fiscal year. I'd like to really acknowledge all the people that have involved in this process. First of all, of course, because this is the second year we have done this zero-based budgeting. We invited all the principals, the directors, program managers, and also their secretaries to meet with the business services team one-on-one. And the meeting alone took about 35 hours. Now, just imagine a miss with all those things that you in the last board meeting, the team and their support staff have done. On top of that, we're putting into, this is just a meeting alone, 35 hours. So it's really much to be complimented to on everybody. And also the business service team, of course, after the meeting, that's when the work starts for all the team. And I have these 4 incredible employees. And of course, with COVID-19, this makes it a little bit of a challenge, but nonetheless, it did not deter the whole group. So we got a budget on time and on budget. So talk a little bit about the major assumptions, because these are the underlying conditions for build a budget for us, the basic school district. Of course, the very first one is property tax dollars. It's over 80% of our budget is from property tax receipts. obviously that makes us a basic age school district. For 2020-21, a projected dollar amount is $29,254,823. Later on, I'm going to show you the slide. I want to talk a little bit about how this projection, because this pandemic's really impacted economic regionally, locally, regionally, nationally, obviously, to impact us as well. So whether, assumptions will carry us through when the actual receipts come through will make a difference to our bottom line. So we have to be zeroing on this, and obviously we can make budget adjustment, but for now, this is what we are projecting. It's the site locations in terms of income stream. We are still allocating $140 per pupil to all the school site for their operationally budget for school instructional supplies, classroom needs, and so on. And it has been the same rate for the last 3 years. We haven't increased that for 3 years in a row. And as we all know, inflation has really gone up. Things have not been the same. The same pound of tomatoes is not the same cost 3 years ago, but this is something that we have been only allocating to the school sites for 3 years in a row now. Real quickly, in terms of expenditures, the STEM FTEs, the board has directed us to no decrease in FTEs as going into the new fiscal year as the same as this current fiscal year. Pearson, Stewart, we're going to talk about that in subsequent slide. But one thing that in terms of expenditure that really hit us really drastically is this workers' compensation. Now in terms of percentage, you look at it, it's not that big, 0.76%, but in terms of dollars, because it's every dollar that we pay, whether it's regular core payment, is it base pay, or is it overtime, is it substitute pay, or is it hourly pay we have to pay? For every dollar we have to contribute 0.76%. So this really hit us really hit us pretty badly. And it's because of the claims of the number of incidents happened 2 years ago, because it's based on actuarial. 2 years ago will carry us into next year, and then and last year plus this year will carry us into the 21-22, and that is not going to be any better either, because we just got the actual report from the from the county consortium, and it's not looking good. However, but we can say it's not for tonight, but it's just for the public and the board to know that we working with all the employees in this district and the administration as well to provide training and also to provide inspection to make sure we're doing a better job in terms of safety, employee safety. What I just want also to highlight here in terms of the expenditure, what you're seeing is that the negotiated salary increases have not been included in the budget. So the board had just approved the, the AB 1200 for PGTA, but the costs have not been included in here yet because of the timing. When we produce this adopt the budget, it's not a one-day overnight production. It took a long time, and by the time we package this, we have not settled yet. We haven't finished sending the report to the county yet, so it's just not possible for us to include this. But as I said earlier, we're going to have many rounds of budget revisions throughout the fiscal year. We're going to do that 45 days when the governor signs the 2021 budget into law, and then we're going to do it in October when the staffing is in place, when we have already processed the first payroll in August and also in September. And then the next one will be in first interim. So there are many rounds to adjust the budget to reflect reality, to reflect any new information, to reflect any also better projections. So this is the part that I talked about earlier. So as you remember, in the spring, we were anxiously awaiting the property tax receipt for the second installment, April property tax bill from homeowners. We didn't know that until early May. And at that time, we saw our receipts over $500,000 less than projected. So this is what it shows. We have a 2019 budget, adopted budget, 4.75%, and then the revise of our property tax dollars based on the assessor's office and based on our trend analysis. We look at number of years. In this screen, I can only fit in up to 26, but I look at many years back to get to see, not just a trend, just mathematically, but also look at the economic situations at that time and look at the receipts, the pattern receipts. And this is what we projected in March. Now, when it now came May, it went down to 3.88%. The dollar is, as you can see, is drastically lower than a revised projection. Now, we haven't received anything yet for June. Also, the May receipt, we don't know whether we can get more than what is showing here, the $62,709. This is the actual receipts up to end of May. We have not received anything for June yet, so we don't know whether there's going to be any catch-up. Now, there are two things. If there's no catch-up receipts, whether this is going to be truly the amount or we don't get the makeup of late payments, the county, the state has allowed no penalties for late payment of property tax dollars. So we don't know how that's going to impact the final receipts. What we heard from the Auditor Control's office is that they have no idea at this point. It's unprecedented times. They have no way of going back in history to see how it's going to result in the end. So it's on a holding pattern right now to see whether we can receive more than this or not. So with that, a projection for 2021 is based on the higher base, meaning it's based on the 5.86, is based on this $28 million in change and to up it by 4%. So it's not based on the lower actual receipts at this point. So if it does become that this is going to be lower later on when we know, hopefully we'll know more about in July, August, or even September, we will have adjusted this. Now the second part is that this 4%, 2 months ago, we talked about 4.5%, where the 4% or 4.5% is not going to change a lot of our total dollar amount because our 4% is based on a higher base revised. It's not based on the actuals. That's one. And second, if you look at the second out year, the 21-22, according to our assessor, that this is going to be zero growth, not a 2%, not a 1%. He says zero. But at this point, administration is recommending doing a 2%, and we'll know more in January. It's about 6 months from now, we'll know better whether this 2% is too unrealistic or not. So there are many junctures throughout the year that we'll make some revisions. So I think with this, as you can see, there's a lot of things in flux. Nobody knows. So the only thing that I think we should be reminding ourselves is that the reserve is so important, because if this truly is going to be $500,000, $550,000 less, the only way we can absorb this kind of change is in our reserve. So this property tax. So now going to the bottom line. So we talk about the revenue, and we talk about quickly about assumptions about expenditure. This is the bottom line projected for 2021. At 4%, we show an operating surplus of $804,647. And fund balance, this is components of fund balance. By law, we have to designate this. Is the new law a couple years ago. So we have the line item to show this under assigned items. We have all these various items. For basic aid, property tax reserve, we have a 0.5% set aside, in addition to basic aid, the regular reserve amount. And then the sick leave incentive, we itemize this to about $70,000. This is more or less that we've been paying. It's something part of a contract that employees who have not used all or partial sick leave, they get a little bit of a bonus at the end of the fiscal year. There's also the routine reserve maintenance. By law, we have to spend X percentage. And if we don't, we have to set aside here. And this is what we're doing. And then the other is the stir and purge. Because the governor is proposing, again, we don't know, is going to be at the end of the day whether it's going to happen or not. Because now the negotiations will start between the legislature and the governor. Since the Senate Budget Committee and the overall legislature has decided not to make any cuts to LCFF's budget, and also not to make any programmatic cuts, the governor may not be able to pay, if he does agree to the deal, he may not be able to still give this break to stirs and purge that we're going to see later on, the amount that would benefit us. So with that, we're putting aside a little bit amount here. Is 0.5% of total salaries of certificated and classified salaries. And then we increase that amount in the 3 out years because the governor's proposal is 2021, 21, 22. And it does not later, if he reverses course, that not going to give the credit on stirs and purge. We'll just increase this a little bit higher in the next budget revision. So with that overall, we shown 14.8, 16.7, and 19.3 general fund unrestricted reserve. But again, I want to emphasize this, salary increases are not in here yet. So very easy to do the math is 2, 4, 6%, you just subtract it, then a little bit more. But because we agreeing to not just a 2%, but also the $350, so it's going to be a little bit more. At the end of the day, if everything else been equal, no changes, here's the end of the day, every group counted in there is a little bit, by the 3rd budget year is about 11%. So that with a caveat that we're gonna get the 2% next fiscal year, the 2nd fiscal year. So if this is 0, this all is gonna change. So real quickly, just to show the variance, the change between in March when we projected 2021 and now really we're doing a live budget now of 2021 adopt the budget. The delta, as you can see, is a little bit over $90,000, and you can see the components. And we show the 4.5%, 4%, and this is a 2% as opposed to 0% by assessor. Well, here's the variance, the $93,000 to the better. 2 months ago, when we projected, when we're looking into the future, this is now $93,000. The downside is the 0.5% lower than what we originally wanted, what we originally projected. This is what we're recommending at this point, 4%. And we'll find out for sure this one here in July. It's actually next month. We'll get the assessed valuation from the assessor office. And this is a workers' comp rate increase. It will cost us almost close to $180,000. The more we spend, the more it costs us. Again, this is every dollar we have to pay. And then there's, this is actually the increase in charter in lieu is part of this. It's a very small amount. It's only about $600, and I've included in this total $54,000. The other part also, the big item is that we show a decrease in contract services, primarily in the—
That's going away. Yeah.
Can I ask everybody to please make sure if you're not speaking to mute your microphone, please.
Okay. So this is a decrease in contract services, mental health, site services, math coach, and so on. Primarily is a special ed area. Now this is kind of thing is hard to predict, it's based on the IEPs. For now, we're saying because the services that we have provided last year, we're going to assume that's not going to continue because they're, is not required anymore. But it can happen again in various forms. But this is where we're showing a savings of 173,000 contract services. STRS and PERS. Earlier we talked about how STRS and PERS you're going to see the chart, but here it just shows the data. Again, we have it going back to many years. But I think the highlight here, as you can see, this is the rate that had the state not increased for state teachers retirement system, the rate for employer to pay. Let's say this rate is static. It's the same rate over the number of years, over the years going forward, versus what the projected rate now is 18.4%. This is the increase in dollars. Meaning without this increase, we would have just in a STRS benefit bucket, we'll have more than $1.7 million to spend. But this is something we have carved out of our budget to meet this increased rate. Same thing with CalPERS. CalPERS's rate is set by the CalPERS board, not set by the legislature. And at this point is 22.68%. These rates here, these two here are not reflecting the governor's proposed rate because that's not final, it's not signed into law yet. So we cannot include that into our budget yet. So this is the rate that's currently in place, 22.68. So for PERS, with this increase, just for this 2021 budget year alone, is over $730,000. So combining the two, you can see this is in graph form. This is for CalSTRS, $1.7 million. Over this last 7 years, because 13-14, it was the first year where the CalSTRS rate went up, where the last Governor Brown proposed this to increase because there was such a huge amount of unfunded liability. So when the employees had to increase paying their share for 3 years, the state responsibility was the same for 3 years, but for LEA's local educational agency, responsibility more than double, was 7 years to pay this, to help pay down the unfunded liability. So over a 7-year period for us is over $7 million. Just on this next budget year alone is $1.7 million. So I want to say collectively, as you can see, for 1 year alone is $2.4 million, just 1 year, STRS and PER, but $7 million for CalSTRS, and then for CalPERS 2.1. So it's $9.1 million over a 7-year period. And just this 1 year alone, $733,000. And I know some of our board members have been talking about this. I think when you really look at it, read a dollar, you can realize just how much has been taken out from every school district's budget. This is with no corresponding increase in dollars or contribution from the state, but this is only a mandated cost for, by the state. So real quickly, May revision, just to revisit again. News is already out that the legislature has already agreed on the budget. Now it's at the governor's desk. Actually, not quite yet. There's still negotiations now between the two parties. So we'll see what's going to be at the end result. But at this point, the May revision stands at $54 billion state budget deficit. And the governor is proposing to suspend the 2.31% COLA. That equates to, including the cuts, is about 10%, including the 2.31%. That's more than $1,000 per ADA. The STRS and PERS relief that we talked about earlier, in terms of dollar savings, if truly it's going to happen, this is good news for Pacific Growth USD. For the first year, 2021, is over $500,000, and second budget year is for $487,000. And these are, again, this is projections. So I'm going to the next, the other funds now. Is required by law, adopt the budget. It's not only the general fund, but we need to also to address all the other funds. Adult education, at this point, we're projecting to carry over from 1920, a little bit over $1 million, plus all this projected income from LCF sources, but also local collection fees, and also CAPE funds, which is adult block grant, many programs, including ESL, including in place, childcare, and so on. And then with projected expenditures, it shows that they have a fund balance of a little bit over $805,000. Fund 12, this is Child Development Fund. This is has two major programs. It has a BASRP. It also has a state preschool program. So at this point, we are projecting the state revenue pretty flat, carrying over, projecting the same amount as this year. This is based on attendance. The governor has suspended instructional minutes and attendance. So we believe we'll get the same amount. We'll get the projected amount for 1920, and we're projecting the same amount next school year. And then for local revenue, this is for mostly BASRP. And obviously, because this year of the truncated period of the pandemic, collections have been a lot lower than projected, and we have been paying salaries through June 30th. So all this expenditure will materialize, and the second interim projection will not be $408,000 in revenue. It will be a lot less. So when we close the books, you'll see that. So at this point, we're projecting the same thing for next year, though. And overall, we're showing positive fund balance is not as high as we wanted, but still positive fund balance. Food service, next fund. Same thing with sales and also meals for both state and federal, but have had, because again, closure, this went down. However, because Director Lib and with the board's direction and also with the help from all the employees, administrators, and classified staff, and also teachers, we've been volunteering distributing meals. So we have been able to collect, to claim reimbursement from a state. So at this point, we're looking at pretty much break even in terms of cost for service for this year. For next year, we assuming that operations will resume, and we're counting on radio sales going to be pretty much more or less the same level. If not, hopefully the state will continuing providing meal reimbursement and will not hurt projected income that much. The salaries is static, is pretty much coming from position control, as you can see. The only difference in here is contribution because of the changes in meals, the number of meal counts, and projected dollars. It shows that we general fund needs to contribute more now to this program. The difference between this and this current year, as you can see, is quite a big of an increase. But we'll see. A few months makes a big change, and we'll see whether the actual result come in will be lower, more or less the same, or higher than our projection, and we'll adjust the budget correspondingly. Real quickly, you can see in here the third year food survey is showing a little bit negative, but we have time to make some adjustment. This is again the first budget year. We'll take a look at all this income as well as expenditures, and then if we need to contribute more, this fund will adjust because we just can't present a negative budget in the future. Deferred maintenance. This is a revenue limit source. This is at the last board meeting talked about fair share. Just real quickly in terms of fair share, many years ago, 2013-14, when the revenue limit folder became LCFF, our school district lost by what I heard is over $1 million. And just because of fair share, because what happened is that the district had been receiving categorical programs as a basic school district, just like the revenue limit school district. So when they changed district, when they were undergoing the Great Recession, they were losing a lot of money. So saying that categorical funds will be rescinded. or would be reduced or would be eliminated for basically school district, and therefore school district lost all this income. But one of the sources that remained is deferred maintenance, and this is 93,000 that we're getting. It just is not adjusted for COLA. It's the same amount. It's a static amount every year. So we have been getting this amount. In terms of expenditures, we're projecting minimal amount for a number of reasons, because we have Measure D. Our goal is to issue the first series in the spring of next year. It will help a lot in terms of providing for repair and any fixing, repair work, any work that has been put in abeyance that we were attempting to not pay out this deferred maintenance fund to conserve the revenues, or conserve income, and conserve the fund balance for this fund. So that's why you're seeing this is growing. If you recall, several months ago, we said we probably need to grow this until a point that it would feel like that is pretty healthy and pretty stable fund. We can probably reduce the payments from here, and also we have the option to reduce the amount going to deferred maintenance. So this is helpful for us to know. But at this point, I think we need to grow that up a little bit, because if you recall, we spent this amount 3 years ago. It was actually spent now quite a bit to pay for the portables. This post-employment benefit, we spent it down 3 years ago, so it's still the same amount. We have not been contributing to this fund. It would be nice to have some amount in here. This is to pay for unfunded retirees benefits. We don't pay as you go. The cost to pay all retirees is included in our general fund, but there's nothing more. That's it. So we just need to make sure there's this cost included in our budget. There's nothing set aside in other funds to help pay down that further, or to set aside that in case general fund is hit with something major slowdown in income or higher costs. So we have like a placeholder, or we have something that a backup from other funds to help pay for this cost. We don't have that. This is what the fund is for, to help pay for post-employment benefits. Fund 21 is Education Technology Fund. This is the Measure A. We issued in March. In April, we received the receipts of $2 million. This is the third series, or Series C, of the Education Technology Fund. So that's why you see the fund balance, the beginning fund balance of 2021 a little bit higher than what's shown here, because I have included to show the $2 million that we'll start spending that next year, and it needs to be spent entirely in 3 years, because it's by law. It's a 36-month period. We need to spend now what we have issued. So this is pretty much what we're projecting to spend, and Director Binder and Ms. Mejia, they always work together with site tax and the tech team to come up with a list every year, and in 2 rounds by semester, and present that list to the board. And this is just the global, the high amount, the details of which will be reflected later on when actual expenditures happen. But this is what it is. The last one is Capital Outlay Projects Fund, Fund 40. The main source of income is the rental income from charter school, Monterey Bay Charter School. And the rent amount is, we're showing here increase, and we're in discussion with them. They're hurting just like everybody else. So we're going to come with a recommendation later on. This may not be the amount, but this is what projecting this point. But again, this is the budget. We will make budget revisions later on. It shows that we're doing a 20% for services, and $170,000 is to pay for the leases that we have for the buses. So I think that said, there are 2 exhibits just to show allocation of CBES. We are giving out 97% of the projected enrollment count for each of the school sites. We'll adjust it in October when the actual count comes in. And then the site allocation shown the amounts is $271,134. And not for questions. I'm going to stop sharing. Madam President, should I just stop sharing the chart, or should I keep?
Let's keep it up there for a minute there, Song, if you don't mind. I'll go ahead and open it up to questions from the board. Thank you so much for that presentation. There's always so much work that goes into that. Christy, do you have any questions? Let me see. Hold on. There we go.
Not at this time. As you just stated, the amount of work that goes into it is phenomenal. Our solvency fiscally is critical, and I just always feel very comfortable with the outstanding work that you do to prepare us. And I really appreciate also when you talk about the different contingencies, even when we're not quite sure where we are with things like the assessors and stuff. I love that you make us aware when we will know more, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Christy. John Paff.
Song, a couple questions for you. The workman's comp, is that a shared liability across the county?
This is our share. It's a share. Collective is a consortium, but the actuarial is doing for every school district, and they look at the number of claims, the number of incidents each school district.
Okay, so to make sure I'm understanding that, it is a shared pool, but we are individually arranged. So Salinas could go down 0.25 and we could go up 0.25 in the same year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, fine. So 0.76, and it will just take a couple of years to get off of our balance sheet. Whatever that was 2 years ago, hopefully falls off sooner or later and we drop. We set site allocations internally. Is that a true statement, or is that set at the state level?
Can you elaborate? What do you mean set site? We do.
Well, we have we put down $140 based on the seabeds, and then we make an adjustment per actuals on a date, and then we don't look at it again, which is totally appropriate. That's fine. But we set that $140.
Yes, it was 3 years ago. I think by and large, when we, if you say whether it is adequate or not, I think we work with the principals. So far, they have been, everybody has been very vigilant. They stay within budget. And every year, if anything else, they have a little bit left in each of their site allocations.
Okay. So again, the question there is, that is an internal amount, not an external amount. And I think I understood you say that. You said that there's one constant going forward, that the ADA, there is no attendance requirement. You actually said there was something else attached with attendance. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, you mean attendance. The ADA for this is based on if you refer to the site allocations by pupil, it's not by ADA.
No, I'm not. But thank you for clarifying. You said that the state, we still have an ADA requirement, but the state is no longer, or has put into abeyance here for a short period, the attendance count, because
that's correct. That's correct.
And my question for you is, was that until June 30, or is that through next year at this point?
Well, at this point, it's only until June 30.
Okay, so that we will need a system as of July 1. Fund 20. Go ahead.
We'll get direction from the county, especially in 2 weeks, we have to have an official budget. The governor will have to sign something into law. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, and we're not back in the dark old days where they said, yeah, we need a budget by June 15th, but we'll, continue talking about it until mid-September, unfortunately, or they lose their pay. I'm not unhappy about that. Fund 20. If we look at Fund 20, you said, well, we should consider putting money back into Fund 20. 2 years ago, we deliberately sunk this. We moved money out in 27-18, and we actually talked about whether or not we should have this fund at all. And the agreement ended up being, well, let's leave $5,000 in it, and then we have an open fund, because it really doesn't hurt us to have an open fund. But tonight, I heard that you're saying we should go back, and we were only putting in $20,000 or 19,000 and change. It's probably on your screen, I can't read it. 19,426. We were only putting in a small amount every year. There was never an intent to bring it to a level where it would actually pay for the actual benefits. So consequently, the agreement really was, or what we reached was, this isn't buying us much, so there's no sense in having it. But I did hear you tonight say you no longer believe that to be true. Am I correct?
Well, I mean, in good times, it may not be issue, because then, school districts, like, basic school district would get receipts. We'll be able to meet this requirement within our general fund. But in bad times, especially if we have to make cuts or the property tax receipts coming lower, and we still have this obligation for retirees, especially if we have increasing number of retirees, then it's hard for us to project out into the out years to say our general fund, on the multi-year projections, we have to increase not only the first budget year, we have to worry about the third budget year, whether we can meet this requirement. If not, we have to take from somewhere to balance our books for general fund. But if we have this as a backup, it would be helpful. Is what I'm saying. Is our school, the size of our retirees, comparative speaking to other school districts, is not huge. Luckily, it's like unfunded liability of STIRS and Pearson at the state level. At some point, it's going to catch up with us, right? But the only thing that's good for us is that it's not growing as steep as we would think. It's just that we don't have much as a stopgap measure.
I appreciate that, but I kind of view that as a change in philosophy from just a couple of years ago. One of the problems of this fund is it's almost impossible to fund it totally. It's a reserve. Right now, I think we need almost $1 million, right, to actually fund this to the level at which it actually buys what we think it should buy.
Well, we're going to do this year. We're going to do not a roll over, but we're going to do a full-fledged. Every other year we have to do that. It's called GASB 75. Is do an actual study that look at all our active employees, both certificated, classified, and management, and then do a actual report. And hopefully it will be done. This consultant will be done soon. If not, will be early fall. We'll have the report present to the board. I don't believe it's as high as $1 million, but is still over the almost $300,000 that we have included in our general fund budget to pay for retirees. Right now, I believe it's close to about 285. It fluctuates every year. Like I say, some obviously exited the system, some will be added when we have retirees, depending on the contractual requirement for each group and how much we are obligated to pay and until when. So we adjust that. We have a detailed analysis. It's kept by my assistant. But what I think would be good is it's just more in terms of fiscal, obligation, but also as a precautionary measure, to have a little bit set aside rather than completely relying on general fund. Whether when we reach, we pull, everything will have come out of general fund. If we know that we have a little bit of here, so in bad times we can say, okay, let this fund carry the burden to pay for retirees and relieve the general fund a little bit. It's just like a savings account.
Well, okay, I understand that. Again, I think there was a deliberate act to actually bring it to this level. So I think we're shifting here a little.
Right.
I'm sorry, did someone else cut in there? No. The last thing is just going back to, in the board packet, it's page, well, I don't know what it is, 194, but the actual general fund item, and you did discuss it, and I just want to iterate what you said. We show an undesignated reserve percent of 12.3%. But with what we passed today, that drops almost exactly 2.3 to put us at about 10. And that carries forth in the upcoming years. So right now, with what we know, we are closer to 10% for 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22. That just based on the action we took today, those numbers will drop at the very next time this is presented. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
Just a couple of things here. Yeah, sorry, I thought I had muted myself, so I'm not muted, right?
No.
So, Song, as I look back, you were going with a 2% projected increase versus the assessor suggested 0% at this time, at least, right? Which it sort of struck me as odd. Could you delve into that just a little bit deeper as to why you were thinking? I know we're usually not in line anyway with the assessor 100%, that number can be a little bit different, but what's the thinking on 2% versus 0?
There are a couple of things. One, we want to see the true picture of this year, 1920. That hasn't happened yet. It still lingers out there that this $550,000 that we believe belongs to PGUSD. Where's the money? Are we going to collect this money? Because the assessed valuation for those homes happened. It's just the receipts have not been collected. So that's one. And so if there's truly, that will not materialize, obviously not going to worry about the second budget year of 21-22. We need to worry about 2021 because, like I said earlier, 4% was actually running on the higher estimate earlier. If I go to the property tax, right? It's actually based on the base was actually at a higher percentage. So if it actually drops, this 4% will drop correspondingly. So that's one. And second, in terms of timing, we won't know. We're not even going to know for 2021 until July when we get assessed valuation from assessor. And they would get all the, assessed valuation for the whole city of Pacific Grove. And we'll get all those, the CRAs, the tax TRAs, the tax rate areas for our school district. And we'll do a lot of calculations, algorithm, and then we'll see what that percentage is going to be. And then the next test will come in is say 6 months when the first installment happens in December. Where it's going to be a lot lower than assessed value of the property tax bills that's sent out, or the adjustment of assessed valuation of commercial properties, like the assessor said. So I think it's a little bit premature at this time for us to do that. What happens if we do it, it drops our reserve level so much more that it could raise some concern from the county. It just, we're not really underestimating. We've just been realistic.
Okay, all right, that helps. Thank you for that. Another question here relating to workers comp, and I'm not looking for an exact number, but the aggregate increase is this 179,600, right, that we're looking at, and that was because we had an increased number of workers comp claims within the district.
Yes.
And is it when that number changes because we've had an increased number of incidents, is that based just on the number of incidents or the severity of the incidents, or is it a mix? There's probably some mystery formula that they're using.
Yeah,
right?
it's very elaborate. It's based on experience rate, but also there's a base, and also based on individual school districts' experience, number of claims, incidents. So it's is an actual report. It's an intensive study by the independent party commissioned by their consortium, and we look at the claims, and they were real. It's that belong to us. Just that we have to do better in terms of training, of employees, and looking at environment, looking at workplace to make sure there's nothing in between, there's no slip and falls, hazardous areas, that sort of things.
Okay, which is part of why we have Measure D too, and hopefully with some of that spending, we can avoid some of those things in the future, and we can see that number come back down. And then my last question was, you talked about the possibility of these STRS and PERS contributions that we're required to make coming down, right? With the governor saying that we might be able to contribute a little bit less. That isn't I'm imagining that's not the state picking up the slack. That's just, there's going to be an increased gap in how that future liability is funded if that goes through. Is that right?
Let's see if I understood your question correctly. There's a linear increase of this unfunded liability. What happens is that the governor proposed to divert some of the funds to pay the state share of the unfunded liability. He was proposing to divert the funds to help school districts to their share to pay their school district share of the unfunded liability, and the employers' share of the contribution rates. That's what he was doing. It does not diminish or does not eliminate the unfunded liability, because there's still the same number of retirees, if not more. The more and more people are retiring, so that part of money, if the investments, or other income, not really happening. So, but the cost been increasing. Something has to happen, and it has to come from somewhere. So at this point, because school districts are hurting, so the governor is trying to divert the funds to help school district. That's what it is. It's a temporary. It's only for 2 years, for 2021 and 21-22 only. And then we come back to 22-23 to the normal rate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. John Walton, any questions?
Just a few comments. Thank you, Song, for the information. I don't want to sound like a storm crow, but I know I always do when we talk about the budget. It really makes me glad when we can give raises and reward our staff for all the great and hard work they do, and also, pay their bills because of increases in costs in the area we live in. But, when you look at the sobering numbers around unemployment and the economy and how that's going to affect us locally, I know, we're lucky to be based on parcel tax rather than average daily attendance. I think that will buffer the blow to us some, but I still think, and it's highlighted by the assessor's advice to go with a 0% growth, that we have some really challenging financial years ahead of us. So I hope that, that the community understands, and the teachers and parents understand in the coming years that we will probably have to really scrutinize everything we do and really be cautious about spending money and banking as wisely as we can to not let the reserves go down further, to not get into a negative budget situation. So I appreciate, that this district, long before I joined, has always been very well managed financially and fiscally, and I just hope we continue that in the future, even though it might mean some of the things that we would traditionally fund and do on days when our tax growth was 5 or 6%. If it dips below 2%, then all of the funds we receive at that level will probably be consumed by the state mandated costs that we have to contribute to, which won't leave much for us to increase in terms of new things we would like to do, and might even cause us to decrease our expenditures in some areas. So, I just want to remind us of that, because I know we all want to do nice things for the schools and make them better. And that's why everyone loves living here and having our kids go to these schools. But I think we're faced with a couple of tough years ahead.
Thank you, John. Was that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is still the hearing, so I'm going to open this up to public comment. Again, just summarizing how you're going to do that. If you want to make a public comment, you're going to click on participants in the bottom portion of your screen, and then over on the right you should see 3 little dots that will allow you to raise your hand. So I'm going to ask you just to keep the screen share up for a minute in case there are any questions regarding your presentation. I'm going to allow a few minutes before we close the hearing. A few seconds, actually. Okay. Barbara Martinez.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Hi. Barbara Martinez, principal of Pacific Grove Adult School. Thank you, Song. This is just an amazing amount of work, and I know that you've been working really hard on balancing this budget, and I know that I've been working with you on the adult ed budget. I just wanted to take a minute. I know that we have a fairly new board, and I just wanted to just say thank you for supporting adult education and for supporting Pacific Grove adult education. Back in 08 and 09, when we hit really hard times, we really did tighten our belts, and our school board had voted to support those programs, older adult programs, community ed, and Parents Place, parent education program, financially, up into the tune of maybe $500,000 or $600,000 at some years in contributions back to adult ed, because we live in such a place, as John Walton said, it's so beautiful and it's expensive to live here. And so serving our youngest families with lower incomes and our vulnerable older adults who are on retirement packages. And so when we came into CAPE funding, and we were fluid, we had really good funding last few years. And we helped our general fund by moving those programs into the CAPE funding so that we could be solvent and not have that transfer of money from the general fund. We're at a time now where adult education wasn't even mentioned in the governor's budget, and we're cutting close to $200,000, 12% to be exact, 12.1% from our budget, and it's a lot of money. And we're looking at raising our fees and being very creative in working so that we can keep our staff. But we're just thankful. I just wanted to bring that up again. Thankful that you are supportive of our programs, and we are hopeful that should we come into difficult times again, that you will continue to support those programs and work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, seeing no other public comment, I'm going to bring it back to the board and close the hearing at 8:48 p.m. And now we'll move on to action discussion item B. Yeah, B. This is the approval of the adoption of the budget that we just discussed. So I don't think we need to discuss it any further. So I'll bring it back to the board for a motion, or if there is something else, please say so now. Do I have a motion?
I also move for the adoption of the general fund budget as presented for 2020-21.
Second.
Okay. And I will, just for formality, also say it's also public comment on this item. I'm just going to allow a couple seconds. Okay, great, bring it back. I have a motion to approve by Brian Swanson, second by John Paff. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Paff,
Aye.
Trustee Swanson,
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Song, thank you so much for all that hard work and that presentation.
Yes.
More to come, I'm sure. Okay, moving on. We are on adoption. Make sure I'm on the right place here. Sorry.
Yes. COVID-19 operations.
Item C.
Yeah, oh, I'm on the wrong agenda. I have the right thing in my hand. I'll just go with that. So we're COVID-19 operations written report. So this we received, and it's in the board packet that's published to the public as well. Report regarding our response to the requirements of the executive order to basically answer how we have handled COVID and the curriculum. And Director Silva has provided this very detailed, and we have answered each item. Board, I would bring it to you for questions if you have any. Christy?
No, I have none at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. John Paff?
I have no comments at this time. Thank you very much.
Okay. Brian?
I've got nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. John Walton?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. I will open this up for public comment. Again, if this is out on the website in the board packet, the full report out to the executive order. Just waiting for public comment for a second. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board, and I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the COVID-19 operations written report.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Director Silva, for this, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so we have a motion to approve by David Crandall, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Paff,
Aye.
Trustee Swanson,
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Next item is action discussion D, and this is the adoption of Precalculus textbook for 12th grade math, Pearson's College, Algebra, and Trigonometry 7th edition. Director Silva has presented this. I believe this is a renewal. Is that correct?
It's a brand new a new book for a new class that they've designed. They redesigned the pre-calculus class, so it's a new. Yes.
Okay, so this is different than the hearing and what we previously approved for.
No, it's the same book. It's just that we had the hearing for it, and so now in the meeting that you would approve it.
Oh, okay. I thought we already approved this, but okay. Very good. So, and that said, then that is the same book. We have discussed this. There was a hearing on it. It's actually part of the packet as well. The cost is total of $74.50.61. Board, bring it back to you for questions. Christy?
None at this time. Thank you.
John Paff?
I have none. Thank you.
Brian?
Nothing from me, thank you.
John Walton?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. And we'll open it up for public comment on this item. Okay. Seeing none right away. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the adoption of the Precalculus textbook for 12th grade math. It's Pearson's College Algebra and Trigonometry, 7th edition.
Second.
Okay, motion by Christy Dawson, second by John Paff. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Next item is action discussion E. Options for July feeding during COVID-19 pandemic. Last meeting, we voted on approval for June services, and we provided direction there. We also asked for this to come back for options regarding the July services. We've all received the follow-up to this, and I'm going to go ahead and just bring it to the board for questions, and I'll start off with you, Christy. Or comments.
Or comments?
Yeah,
okay.
Questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. This particular item was very troubling for me because as we discussed it, my heart wants to say, yeah, we need to find a way. But I also have to say that my feelings are that there's a food bank out there that's had, from my understanding, a lot of wonderful donations. There's also a place for students to go to get food that in a neighboring district. And I feel that even though the concept is extremely kind, I want to say that as I've thought about this over time, we have certain things that are under our direct responsibility. And as we move forward, we got a note today about how much hand sanitizers, Perel, masks, I mean, all the different things that are going to be coming up. I think that is our direct responsibility, and kids are going to be coming back and staff. And I think understanding accurately the cost is not at this time possible. And I think that the duration of this pandemic is also not clearly understood. So for me, my comment is, even though I would love to say yes, that I feel at this time to just have it open that people can come by and get food puts us in a very precarious position as a school district. And I think we need to be very clear of what it is we're supposed to be doing and educating and taking care of the kids, you know, starting in August is what I think we need to really stay focused on.
Thank you, Christy. Okay, John Paff.
So
Questions?
Ralph or Stephanie, when we see this starting in July, does this go through the first day of school, which is what, August 6th as of today's calendar?
I'd need to defer that to Stephanie, Director Lip.
Yeah, I mean, I was projecting it to just go through the end of July.
Okay, so that's at most 2 more days. Yeah, I'm of the exact opposite, actually. This to me is a no-brainer that we should proceed under the assumption we're going to end up spending $37,500, give or take. We're not sending our children over to another district. We're not asking that individuals who we expect to be able to come back to us healthy and not stressed and capable of being educated, quite frankly. It is in our purview in the same manner that so many of the other things that we try and do, mental health, breakfast, free lunch during the year, all of these actually contribute significantly to our students and their ability to actually get educated. And if we put them in a bind and their families in a bind in a manner in which we can spend, $37,000, I think it's cheap. I think we should go forward with it.
Okay. Brian?
First of all, I wanted to thank Ms. Lipp and everybody else that was involved in putting together these options as quickly as you did. I think it's impressive just that they are they're there. So, I've thought about it a lot as well, and I think that it's great that we could potentially do this. I really wish somebody, some other organization would step up to fill the gap though too, because we have staff that's working so terribly hard right now, just trying to put the day-to-day things together. And one of the things that had come up when we first had discussed this was that they also needed an opportunity to have a break. Everybody's under a tremendous amount of stress right now, and that break would disappear for those people. So it's difficult for me to, as much as I think it's admirable that we could do it, I wish a different organization would step up and take the reins for a month on this to give some other people a break. And it's not an insignificant amount of money either. I'm concerned about where we're going to be 3 months, 6 months, a year, or 2 years from now. I don't think the future looks bright economically. So I'm very much on the fence. I'm interested to hear what the other board members have to say about it, but it's hard for me to support it wholeheartedly, even though I think it's a good thing.
Okay, thank you, Brian. John Walton?
Thank you, and thank you, Director Lipp, for putting this together. I really appreciate it. I know it wasn't easy, probably gathering all this data on short notice, and I know time is short for us to make a decision. My understanding from your memo is option one isn't really an option because Monterey Unified has declined to provide the service to students. Well, we explored that's not actually an option we could pick. Is that true?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we really are only left with option two, which is vouchers that the children who qualify for these meals could take to the local businesses, Michael's Taqueria and the Bagel Kitchen, things like that, to redeem them for food. Would this just be limited? The numbers I see here, the 388 or the 300, are those limited just to the students? Then you would distribute these to the students that qualify for the reimbursable meals, or would these be distributed to anyone?
So those numbers were kind of an average of how many meals we were serving during the school closures. And actually right now, we just started serving in June and our numbers are actually lower than projected. So I'm not sure if right now we're at the low 300s. So I'm not sure if that's gonna be typical of maybe in July as well.
And how many students roughly qualify for the meals?
A little under 400, close to 400. Sorry, my dog gets louder every time I speak.
And mine's dreaming.
And if we did go with option two, I know we're all concerned that the staff that have been working so hard to make the meals have the opportunity to take a break. Would option two provide them that break if we could distribute these vouchers to the students and the local restaurants participating provided the meals? Would that give the staff a break?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so option two does afford them that at least a month break. Having said that, this is my opinion on this. I'm in line with Trustee Paff on this. We like I said earlier, we have a lot of hard decisions to make now and in the future about the budget. And I think things like this say a lot about what our goals are for our organization, what we value. I've seen us approve money for textbooks, which is important. We got to teach the kids. But I also see us approve things like pool heaters and things like that, which to me are nice to have that cost much more than food. And I know we need things like hand sanitizer, but I don't really see the point in spending money on pool heaters and hand sanitizers if our kids are going hungry. So I just feel very strongly that a child who has food and who is healthy can take advantage of all these other great things we're doing. But if we don't take care of their mental and physical well-being first, and I know, when I came on this board, I'll be honest, I thought we were just all about education, and it was eye-opening to me to realize all the other things our schools do for the community. I've taken that to heart a lot and really had to reflect on that. And so some of my things that I think probably weren't priorities when I came on this board are bigger priorities now, and the food is definitely one of them. So I feel very strongly that we should prioritize providing these children an opportunity to get vouchers and take them to these local restaurants, which also for me has an ancillary benefit. We're supporting our local economy and the families that operate those restaurants and need the income. Many of those families go to our schools and their kids go to our schools. Michael's Taqueria is named after Mikey, who went to school with my son. So, I just feel very strongly we should approve this, and I think we should find the money for it. Option 2.
Option 2. Okay. Thank you. John, I know you asked this, and Director Lip, could you confirm for me the 388? Those are our registered students, our enrollment, or those?
That was the average. That was kind of just a general average of how many kids we were serving during the school closures, to just get a sense of how many people have been participating during this. And then right now, since we've started serving in June, actually since the last week of May, we saw a dip in our participation. So we're kind of at a low 300 right now. And I'm not sure if that might be true for like the need in July as well. I don't know if, since businesses have opened, people have, gone that route instead of coming to us or something. So that number, actually, if you take the 37,000 and what we were talking to the restaurants about was a $5 meal voucher. So that would only afford you somewhere in the 240 to 250 meal vouchers.
Okay. And because we're only really looking at, wait, I had another question before I say that. Do you know about how that process is going to work if we were to approve the voucher option? How are they going to be distributed? Just to the students that are enrolled across the board, or?
That's kind of going to be my question to you all, is who do we want to identify? How do we want to identify who needs the vouchers? Because even though I have people that may qualify for free and reduced meals right now, some people haven't applied recently since school closures, and people might need it that aren't on the free and reduced meal program.
Could we put a link on the website announcing, let's just say we did vouchers, and a link on the website to say this is what we're doing? Let us know if you would want vouchers. Could we do something like that?
I think so, and I think that maybe calling the families, because some people don't, technology is not always accessible, and perhaps we need to make some phone calls as well.
And do we have any staff at all that would be available to answer those requests?
On my level, I think many of the site principals, maybe site staff, might have some help
Okay, yeah, because everybody needs a break, right? Well, I really feel I'm in agreement with Christy and Brian, a little bit in between. I would prefer us to be able to spend the money and provide the meals with somebody else doing it. Just because our staff needs a break, and it's going to be, we don't know what July is going to hold for us and for them. So getting a break, I think, for everybody would be ideal. The vouchers, though, do give us that somewhat, right? If we have the vouchers and we figure out a method of giving those to our enrolled students, not just anybody in the public that's under 18, I would assume that would be part of the distribution of the vouchers. I would like to, I think we can pursue that, working out those logistics. I did have a comment, though, regarding what's included with those vouchers. And I know it's a lot of work to go to these restaurants. And it's great that they're donating this, but I think if we could try to stay within our wellness policy, as far as, like, I'm saying that because there's fountain drink mentioned here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that, I mean, that's really not.
You, Debbie.
Yeah.
So you're not fun. I was like, oh, it's.
Yeah, a juice box or something might be better. So I think if we could, I mean, that's kind of being picky, sort of, but not really. So I think that's what I would like to see, is just to confirm what my preference is to go forward with the vouchers, but figure out a way to not just kind of just give them out to everybody, just to our students that have requested them and need them. And if we can make phone calls to those that we know need them, that's even more better. And I'm more than happy to make phone calls to do that as well. So before we say anything else on the board, I'm going to open.
I got one more thing too. Can I jump in, Debbie?
Sure. Go ahead, Brian.
So this again, I know I already said thanks, but thank you for putting this together. I do think it's great. I think there's a number error on like 1,500 times 23 weekdays should be 34,500. Isn't that right? Instead of 37,500.
1,500 times 23. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's 34.5. So if that's what we're looking at. And then as far as help, it's like, you know, again, I don't know what you would need in order to, you know, if vouchers need to be delivered or anything like that. If you find yourself in a situation like that, provided this actually goes through and needed help doing that, I would be happy to assist in any way. Lord knows I have the time right now. And as much as I struggle with it, sometimes we are faced with a if not us, who kind of situation. We're talking about 1 month. I appreciate Mr. Walton pointing out too that with the Michaels option, it does give some staff a much needed break. So I am leaning towards, not leaning, I am in favor of this option too.
May I add one more thing? Is if I liked what Debbie had mentioned, that if people have now become unemployed and they do actually qualify for free and reduced, if there's some way to notify our community of that. And I would also ask that, even though it was mentioned, if you're a student, we're going to buy you lunch. I would very much appreciate it that this goes to students in need, not just any kid that goes to our district whose parent might be making $400,000 a year, but they feel like they want a burrito that day. I just think that would, I think that's the right way to go. It's not our job to just hand it out. And if students, if families can show it, then I certainly understand the desire to take care of those families in need.
Okay, thank you.
Is that possible?
Debbie?
John, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I had
unmuted
my
you.
hand in the chat after Brian spoke too, because this clearly does provide the, I mean, the reason that I raised it earlier electronically was it does provide the relief that Ms. Lip's employees get. But, you know, when we try and put restrictions and say, well, please show your ID, we significantly negate the ability to actually do this. And frankly, no one has abused what's been available so far. So why we think in July suddenly we would have large amounts of abuse and have a significant increase because it's available, I don't think we will. I think we will have the same small groups that really do need it. The occasional person who says, well, I want to walk up to Arkwright and get it, who probably doesn't, but nonetheless is available within the district. And people who have started to go back to work will in fact say, you know, this was really nice of the district to do. But we should not abuse this. I think that I have strong trust in our constituency that they will be trying to do the right thing.
So I don't know that nobody has abused this current situation. I don't know that. I don't have that fact. And as far as showing ID, I wasn't suggesting showing ID. I was suggesting that our way of communication to get this out there. So I'm not really sure, it's summertime, right? And not really sure how else we're going to get the information out there. If we put it on our website, they're, you know, not always going to be enrolled in our district, but most likely, possibly. And if they're not, well, we can't control that. But the information is out there. If they do want to apply for the free and reduced, that's a separate item. And then calling them is directly related to our district because we have to have a list to call. So I don't think those comments are really limiting necessarily. I just think it's a way of organizing it.
Your comments were not limiting, actually, and I agree. What we don't want is to say, well, you have to be part of the free and reduced, because it just creates a complication that's far more difficult to work through. And we actually do have strong evidence it hasn't been abused, because we only had 388 on average out of 1,968 students. It's right in line with our population and where we should expect it to be. Yes, Ralph. Oh, sorry, Debbie. Ralph had his hand raised.
I am going to open this up for public comment anytime if you want to. I don't know why I said anytime. Raise your hand for not you, John.
Ralph had a comment. I just want to give Ralph his, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Ralph.
Thank you, Madam President. I just a couple of quick thoughts as you're considering this item. I think part of the packet recommendation is, if this option was selected by the board, that we're going to need direction on the max number to provide. So that'll give us a chance to know how many vouchers we can provide. And then also, I think there's going to need to be an understanding that this is going to require some extra hourly pay to some of our employees, because some of this work is actually, I think, union labor, and we need to talk to our unions to make sure that they have an opportunity to get this work. And so I think that would come under the extra hourly. I can certainly check with Director Mankey, but I want to make sure that we honor that obligation. And so we would probably need to invest in some extra hourly to do some of the clerical work that is behind this. So those two things I just wanted to note.
Okay. Thank you. It is open for public comment, just for the record. I'm going to come back to the board in a second here.
Song has her hand up, Debbie.
Oh. You should be able to unmute yourself.
I think she can, yeah.
There. Go ahead, Song.
Okay, what Dr. Porras said, if it involves employees, then Director Lib will have to be overseeing that too, because the program. So it's just, you know, it's just not like, it's not just rank and file classified employees will get onto that, because a lot of decision making, processing, you know, dealing with that will involve administrative function, administrative oversight.
Thank you. I do have a public comment. Carolyn Swanson, I'm going to let you end there.
Hello, Trustee Crandall, other trustees. Good evening, all.
Hi.
Listening to you guys talk about this meal idea, and so I'm in the food service industry, so this is kind of fascinating to me. I've been wishing and hoping some more that our district can get 20% of our kids enrolled in free and reduced lunch, and I know that that can be a way for our district to get more income and provide more meal services for our kids who really need it. And I see, number one, I want to say I absolutely believe we have got to do something to feed our kids for the month of July. We cannot, it's almost that analogy of like having a bird feeder out and then you just take it away. You're almost doing more harm. These kids have learned to get food in this distribution channel in this location for months now, and taking it away is criminal in my opinion. So we have to find some way to continue to feed them. If I do think that shifting over to a system where kids are going to get really very enticing, very fun in their minds foods from their school district, you will you've got a little bit of leverage perhaps to, and I don't know exactly how this would work, but like if there is a way for us to use this as a way to get more kids to sign up for free and reduced lunch who qualify it without scaring kids off and not feeding kids. But this might be a very exciting way because people are going to be excited about this program. No offense to the lunches that have been given out, but when you start giving out restaurant food vouchers, that is so exciting. So if we can leverage that to get more people enrolled for these programs for the future, it would be a wonderful opportunity, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay. Seeing no other public comment, coming back to the board. All right, so any other comments or questions for administration board? Christy?
Starting with me.
If you know, that's okay.
No, I see a distinct difference between kids that would qualify for this versus wide open. And I am where the word will spread quickly that you can go to these restaurants and get food. And I think this will be won't follow the same pattern of diminishing numbers. So I need that to be clarified in the actual option we're choosing. Is it just wide open for all? And I did have a question with before. If somebody drove up in a car to get the lunch, are all the students present that need it in the car? Or did I as a mom say, I need 3 please for my children?
Yes. So is a waiver that the USDA and CDE got approved so that parents could pick up meals for their kids without them being present.
Okay, and I know Mr. Paff said this, but a parent could go from one spot to another spot to another spot and pick up at a variety of lunches at different spots?
No.
It couldn't happen?
You're not allowed to. Not allowed to, but on some cases we notice that just from, like I drive around often, so we noticed that just on a couple of occasions, and we talked to these families and it didn't happen again. So kind of took that at that face value.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That helps me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. John Paff, anything else?
No, thank you, Debbie.
Okay, Brian.
No, no. Nope.
Okay. John Walton.
A couple comments. Yeah, first to Ralph's question for better direction, I think we should cap it at 400 of a maximum. because I think Director Lips said those were the close to the current number of students that qualify. I think that's a starting point, and they can always come back and ask to expand that. I have great confidence in the staff that we always praise for their ingenuity and quick thinking, that they'll find a way to distribute these to the people that need them and not let the system be abused. So I don't think we need to over legislate to the staff how to run this program.
Yes.
Experienced and smart about how to do this. And I know people, I'm sure, abuse the system, but I think, you know, there's always going to be flaws in any system. And I don't think the people who need this help, which are the majority, should be caused to suffer because people abuse the system. And I think it's a really important thing we should do for the families that are suffering because they're out of work or can't go to work and kids are hungry. And I think we should do it.
You want to make a motion, John?
I'd make a motion to approve option 2 with a cap of 400 and would ask for the board support.
Seconded.
Okay. So I have a, before I go further, is that motion enough direction, Dr. Porras or Dr. Lip?
I think just initially, again, the question of we're just going to need to, again, have the board understand that there will be other expenses for personnel and that are involved with this. So we just want to make that clear and totally understand the direction. Just want to make that clear.
That needs to be in the motion.
Not necessarily. It's just that we just want to make sure that that's just going to be an expenditure that we're going to have to work on through the month of July.
Okay.
Director Lip, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, sorry. I forgot I was muted. No, I'm okay. And then also, just that we are going to kind of ask the general public of PGUSD. Is that correct?
Yes, this would be limited to the people within our district.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion as noted by John Walton, seconded by John Paff. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
No.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It passes 4-1.
Debbie,
Yes.
may I make a brief comment afterwards?
Yeah.
Whether or not this passed or not, Stephanie, I really want to thank you for the work you did between March and the beginning of June in trying and, you know, very quickly coming up with a distribution plan, and your cohorts, you know, the cafeteria staff and people who helped with you. And I realize that a lot of admin in that, but thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'm gonna move on. It's 9:30, just keeping time here. Action, discussion F, approval of Measure A, education technology expenditures. In the packet, we receive, as we always do, detailed itemized list of items purchased with this next portion of money. And we also have talked about this with other items that we've approved regarding our network upgrade and so forth on how this money would be used. With that said, any questions from the board on these items? Christy?
No, not at this time, thanks.
Okay. John Paff?
I completely agree with Christy on this one. Not at this time, thank you.
Brian?
I'm good, thank you.
John Walton?
Yeah, 2 quick ones. I guess probably for Mr. Mihir, Director Binder. The hotspots that we're buying, are they capped in the amount of data or are they unlimited data?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. So we have a couple of vendors that we got these from. One was the Khajiit Wi-Fi system, and that has its own central management system. And then the others were the T-Mobile with some built-in protections as well. The Khajiits are capped at pretty conservative amount. I'd have to go look. I think it's a gig per month or something like that of bandwidth. And then the T-Mobiles are unlimited. We've got 25 and 25 of each. And we had a few spares. We got, I think, about 35 out the gate, and we're getting them back as we start to collect the devices from those who check those out.
Thank you. I would just share that I was on some calls with some school districts up here where we're trying to help them close some of the digital divide, and they were sharing back that they were distributing hotspots to students and found that 2 gigs wasn't sufficient as a cap when students were doing Zoom and video conferencing all day long and watching video things. So I would caution that if we are capped at 2 or below, you might find that there's issues with students being able to have sufficient bandwidth based on the curriculum you're selecting. Could I also ask on the tablets, what kind of tablets those are on line 3?
Yeah, so line 3 tablets, this was a revision item that the tech team arrived at based on some input from first grade teachers. We actually met with first grade on May 21st, representatives from both Robert Down and Forest Grove first grade. They were not particularly committed to tablets being iPads. And therefore, we started doing some exploration and some research on the possibility of acquiring Chrome tablets as an alternative to buying more iPads. So the proposal here includes a potential one-to-one initiative for first grade with Chrome tablets, whereby that would allow us to then transfer the existing iPads that we currently have, the updated ones or the latest ones we have in the fleet, down to kindergarten, who are definitely more specific in their request as they came together as a team to request iPads for their one-to-one program. So, as you know, we've got some cost savings there right out of the gate, because the newer developed Chrome tablet devices are about half of the cost of a typical iPad nowadays. It's definitely much more efficient in terms of being able to centrally manage it. So definitely easier to centrally manage it. We can basically enroll it within our domain, and that allows us to apply certain controls that we can't necessarily do right now with iPads. And of course, because of Apple's retro support limitations, we're not going to expect to have to buy new Chrome-based tablets to the degree or to the rate that we would have to with iPads in terms of getting app compatibility and retro compatibility and support.
Thank you. No, it was just, I was curious because I know you've been buying Chromebooks for the kids, and it's good to see us standardizing on the Chrome operating system equipment. That way it'll be consistent as the kids go up through the grades. The tools that they use will seem similar, and that won't be a transition for them. So thank you for that clarification. It's also good to save money. So I appreciate that. No other questions?
I have 2 questions. The Dell laptops for the district, the quantity on that, it's $10,000, but there's no quantity.
Yeah, I'll let Mr. Mejia address that particular item. I'll say real quickly, this is a planning strategy here, because as we know, we do have staff that are even now starting to express concerns about the age of their laptops. So with that, I'll go and turn it over to Mr. Mejia.
So with that in mind, one of the things that we're starting to do and trying to look forward is being able to project further out and see what our costs and to operate is. So a lot of what we've been doing in the past almost seems like we're reacting to situations, and rather than continuing to just react, we'd like to take a proactive approach and set aside, based on estimates and based on how much we've been spending on laptops throughout the year, being able to have this amount of money for Dell laptops to come into our district, and we know we're going to use them. We've never, been in a situation where we just have laptops, tucked away somewhere. So
right,
as we've identified laptops that are starting to wear and tear, starting to show their age and reach that limit, we want to be able to have within the budget a planned response to bring in new laptops for teachers, so that if and when something goes down or hard drive goes out, any issue like that, the teacher doesn't have to miss a beat. It could just be swapped in and out and go from there. And if we still have any warranty left on the existing Dell laptop, then we can look into that. And if not, what it would cost us to repair it, or if we have the parts in place to swap out parts should it be a hardware issue.
of course.
And to answer the question, that's essentially going to probably, depending on the quotes we can get, and I know a lot of the manufacturers, including Dell, are now kind of back ordered a bit. So we're looking at a minimum of 15, perhaps, maybe 12 to 15 fully functioning, up-to-date laptops for that price right there.
Okay,
Is
so
that
you're
about
just
right, Mr. Mejia? Is that about right?
Yeah, so with 10,000, we should be able to procure, I would say a minimum of 15 Dell laptops. I like the idea to go Dell Direct and kind of get our standard 3-year warranty with that and pro support on there, and that just extends the life of the device while we have it in our control.
Okay, got it. That's clear to me now. I just didn't see a quantity, so I was like, well, you're just budgeting 10,000 to allow
Exactly.
to purchase those. Got it. Last question is the Illuminate renewal for 1 year. It does say DNA, so I'm going to make the assumption that that is to obtain our or keep our data, or what is the renewal? I thought they were going away.
They are. That's why it's free. You negotiated nothing.
It says
Nothing.
15. It says
Well,
$15,000 in this line number 17.
Yeah, I'll clarify for you, Madam President, real fast. So we have been clients of Illuminate since 2012. We had DNA all the way up through 2017-18 to where we converted over to their SIS program or product as well. So we had both DNA and SIS, or ISI as they call it. Since ISI is being discontinued, and that became pretty much a shocking revelation for us at the beginning of the school year, I did the best I could to basically impress upon them that they owed us. With that, their response was to drop our final year of renewal for the ISI, or Student Information SIS product. But we still are keeping the DNA portion, which is the online testing portion and data reporting side of their platform. So that is just that side of it. We were typically paying upwards of $32,000 a year for both products, and prior to that, we were sitting at this level here for several years.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification.
You're
Okay, John, did you have something else?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you say something. Okay.
No, I'm probably scratching or something, knocking the table. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna allow some time for public comment. If you have any public comment, you can raise your hand here.
President Crandall, I have a question.
Oh, you didn't raise your hand, Carolyn.
Oh, hold on. Let me mute myself and go back. Hold on.
No, it's okay.
You know what happened?
You just surprised me. Go ahead.
Sorry.
For the record, it's public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, for the record, it's public comment. I don't know what I hit. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just was wondering, I was looking at page 63 of the pack. Is it 63 of the packet? And okay, so what's the cost per unit on the Scholastic Reading Inventory license renewal? I see the quantity and the estimated cost. I just wanted to make sure that, is it $5.50 cost per unit, or is there a different number it's supposed to go in there? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. that is probably bundled in with some of the other Scholastic products that are kind of on the list there. Believe it or not, Math 180, Read 180, System 44. I think even, and Ani can help me out if she wants to jump in here, of course. Some of the other things on here, iRead, it's another Scholastic product. They break it out very mysteriously, I guess, is one way to put it. Scholastic has never been very clear cut with how they break out their quotes. And this was put on this list directly from curriculum. I think it was Ms. Trigonometry. But the 500 is essentially what we carry year to year so that we can use those licenses to assess the Scholastic Reading Inventory Assessment for any student K-5 as needed. Or sorry, 3-5, I believe it is. Ani, did you have anything more to add to that?
I'm sorry, but I don't have the information in front of me to identify exactly the SRI quote, because I know that it's a renewal. It's something that we renew every. I think this is it a 1-year renewal, I believe, or is this a 2-year renewal? I can't remember. There's so many.
Yeah, most likely a good question. And I think this, when we deal with Scholastic, it's generally multi-year. So that could actually be less than the 5+ per student. I would hope so, to be totally honest with you. And I think you agree with that, Carol.
Right. Yeah, because when we renewed we upgraded Read 180 and Math 180 because they moved to a completely different platform. And so we asked them to give us a 1-year quote, because they were giving us 3 years, and we were like, well, we can't do 3 years. We need 1 year. So
is that for SRI too, though, Ani? Because my understanding is SRI. Well, in any case, it's on there. We can get clarification for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sean Keller, you have your hand up.
Let me see here. Let me
Yes,
see.
thank you, President Crandall. My only question to Director Binder and Mejia is, did we look into our current iPad fleet that is within first grade, and will they be able to host the apps that our kinder team are using? And if not, what could Plan B be?
So yes, we actually did. The site techs had done a really great job of bringing us up to speed on what iPads they have in first grade. Mr. Bradley is also obviously very familiar with the iPad arrangement in that grade level, since he's been a push-in teacher for those students. We have gotten numbers that are consistent with 2-to-1 current iPads, actual, the latest iPads, I guess you could say, in that grade level. So that would then allow us, as far as numbers go, to shift those down to kinder, to fill in the gaps at the kinder level as needed. Now, as far as Plan B goes, if there is a need to then acquire, a handful of other iPads just to make sure we're covered, we will. We'll do what we have to do, obviously, given the circumstances. But I think we've got a pretty solid approach here. We are researching right now the capability of the Chrome tablets. So far, they look good. I've got one in my hands, not literally right now, but I do have one that we're kind of putting together and installing apps on to see how well it performs. We've got a list of apps that the first grade teachers have given us to see whether or not the tablet can perform as expected. And if all goes well, we are going straight forward to Chrome tablets for first grade.
All right, thank you, Director Binder.
Just wanted to jump in and add in that the iPads at Robert Down that are currently in first grade are the newer iPads that we have in our fleet. So if anything, they're probably in better shape than the ones that are currently in the existing fleet.
Dr. Silva,
yes,
do you have something?
Yes, I found the quote. I knew I could find it. It's a 3-year. It's for a 3-year, and the quantity. We ordered 500 licenses for SRI.
There you go. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Appreciate
It's
it.
500 licenses, and so that's why. Yeah, and we used to have 800, and we decreased it to 500.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Erica Chavez, you have your hand up.
Yes, I was just wanting to clarify that if the tech plan is going to be changed to reflect, because currently our tech plan lists that the preferred device in kinder and first is iPads. So if we're going to update that to reflect that it's going to be Chrome tablets for first grade, just so that it's consistent and our plan is what we have. And also the capabilities that we're going to have in the other classrooms now that we have the classrooms at the elementary schools equipped with Apple TV, how we're going to be able to transfer student data when we're back in the classroom eventually to be able to mirror and project so that students can share projects and things of that nature if the students won't actually have Apple devices in their hands.
We'll let Jonathan Mejia take that on. I think you've got a pretty substantial answer for that. Go ahead.
So one of the nice things about this network upgrade is that now our network itself will be able to handle the extra layer needed to project. We have never been able to seamlessly Chromecast in our district, which has been a big hindrance to the fact that we're a Chrome OS school district. So now with our new network in place, once that's done, we'll be able to Chromecast our devices, whether they be Chromebooks or the Chrome OS tablets. So those classrooms will be able to be fitted with Chromecasts in their rooms to be able to project seamlessly, whether it be a student device or a teacher device. And it's actually, it works out pretty well. It's pretty seamless. So, the Chromecasts are actually significantly, like typical of Chrome, typically tends to be a lot more affordable than an Apple TV does.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chavez, if you have anything else, of course, you could email someone to get that information. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to bring it back to the board. Unless there's anything immediate from the board, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Measure A education technology expenditures.
Well, I do have an immediate question. Jonathan, I heard you say the iPads at Robert Down are of slightly superior quality to something. What was the something to which you were referring?
I mentioned that the iPads at Robert Down or throughout first grade are some of the newer ones in our fleet. So compared to some of the other iPads we have in our district, they're in better shape because they're newer than the ones. The question had been raised about whether those iPads that are looking to be pushed down to the K team or TK team as well would be able to handle the apps that they're currently using. So the consensus is that they will actually be able to handle those that they're already using.
But you know where I'm going with this, right? I don't have just Robert Down. I have Robert Down and Forest Grove. So what's going on to Forest Grove?
So the first grade iPads are the ones that are newer to the district.
Okay,
So
we're going to end up with very equitable systems and identical systems between the two schools, correct?
Well,
That's the vision. That's
Yeah.
the vision.
Pardon me?
Yeah. That's the vision. And then Ms. Chavez spoke of the tech plan. We are looking at steps to revise that this coming year, obviously. But yeah, the hope is that we have equitable, balanced access across the grade levels, regardless of the site. That's always been one of my focus points regarding tech acquisition in the district for as long as I've been in this position. And, quite frankly, there have been decisions that have led to certain inequities based on preferences, based on particular preferences in particular classrooms that have maybe put newer devices in one school versus another. And the hope is that we now, we're approaching this all with a new, fresh set of eyes.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, my motion still stands.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Debbie Crandall and seconded by Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Thank you all for that work.
Debbie,
Yes.
pardon me for interrupting. Yes, sorry. Hey, Matt, is it possible at all to loan out an iPad if we so request to see what we're actually getting?
Is it possible to do what? I'm sorry.
Loan out for a week one of the new iPads so that we understand what the Chrome OS, for me particularly. We can go offline with this, but it might be useful to the other trustees as well. So we understand it's.
Yeah. I mean, we have others that currently that can be obviously borrowed and, you know, for that purpose. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little time check here because we have 12 minutes left of our official meeting, and we have at least 2 items that I know conversation could go a little long. So the next item is board policies, and I in no way want to rush this, but it's we're not on the item yet, but it's pretty straightforward in my opinion. If we can get through that fairly swiftly. And then we have another, the walk-on item plus the COVID update and information. So do we think we can get through all of that by 10:30?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we will do it. Do I hear 10:15? No, I don't want to rush it. So can we, I don't want to do this because it will ruin my record, but can somebody make a motion, please, to extend the meeting?
Oh, I move we extend this meeting to end no later than 10:30 p.m.
Second.
Okay, so we'll extend the meeting till 10:30. Motion made by Christy Dawson, second by John Paff. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall.
Aye.
Trustee Dawson.
Aye.
Trustee Paff.
Aye.
Trustee Swanson.
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Okay, moving on here. Action discussion G. We have several update to board policies, regulations, and exhibits from Parents' Rights Handbook 2021. And as I understand, as I read through these are mostly for our handbook for next fall. Start of school, and they are mostly legalities and different wordings on some of the policies. Dr. Porras, is there anything outside of that?
No, Madam President, very routine. Annual updates.
Thank you. To the board for questions. Christy?
None at this time.
John Paff.
On 5144.1, Ralph, I'm looking at policy, I believe.
Which
Yeah,
page,
policy.
John?
150 in your packet.
15 or 50?
150. There's lots of little things in these, and we could debate forever. But in this particular case, it says numerically significant student subgroups. Does the state define what numerically significant is? Yes. So we don't end up with, wow, we've expelled one more person, and that puts us in the hole.
State definition.
And that is 5, 12, 11.
There's a formula that goes with it that they do a definition. So you get that report when we talk about LCAP and other state reports.
Okay. Also, talking about homework policy in general, and this is something that with now 3 students, mostly through this system, this homework policy allows us to make up work, but we really should be working on a homework policy that allows for grade reductions if it's not turned in at 12:01, particularly in a digital age when we're dealing with midnight clocks, because quite frankly, grading policies that include, if it's not in by 12:01 a.m. and you get a 0, that doesn't teach responsibility. It actually teaches irresponsibility. At 12:01, you don't care. And that's gone on for a long time. And pretty much all through middle school and high school that should be addressed. I'm not sure it's this policy, but you know, there's only a few things in life where if you're really late, it just doesn't happen. One of them is space flight, air flight. Pretty much everything else, if you're 5 minutes late, it doesn't really hurt much. So,
Is that for you,
thanks.
John?
That's for me.
Okay. Brian?
What was it as to that deadline? Where was there a particular place that can you refer me to that spot?
Sure, I could go and get every parental consent that my wife signs, because I don't sign them because it bothers me so. At the beginning of the year for the last 7 years, they'd have to be in various files in desks in schools if teachers keep them. But they almost uniformly say, I do not accept late homework.
Okay.
Brian, I think you were asking for where in the packet, right?
Is there something,
Okay, where does this come up in this packet?
Yes.
We have a homework makeup work policy, which allows you to be excused if you're sick.
Which starts on page 174.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
But that's not the only.
I'll just, if I may, Madam President.
Please.
This particular set of policies is just simply the amendments that were made were part of Ed Code changes in regard to allowance of late work. I think what Trustee Paff is saying that we should come back at some point in time and revisit our homework policy to make adjustments for late homework and acceptance. And we probably should tie that to the attendance that we have allowed for additional days of being absent from the district and still be allowed for credit, which has been affecting us as well. So that for another time. But
it is for another time, Ralph. You are absolutely correct. And it comes to mind only because this policy is in it. Thank you.
Okay, great. That's all I need to know. I have nothing more.
Okay, thank you, Brian. John Walton?
Question?
No? Okay, thank you. We will go ahead and allow some time for public comment if there are any. Just a few seconds here. Okay, seeing no public comment right away, bringing it back to the board for a motion, please.
I move we accept the updates to board policies, regulations, and exhibits from the Parents' Rights Handbook 2020 through 2021.
Okay, I'll second. We have a motion to approve by Christy Dawson, second by Debbie Crandall. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Next item is board calendar future meetings. Dr. Porras, I don't believe there are any changes. Am I correct?
Madam President, there are no changes. However, this trustee did ask that the board visit the calendar to add meetings in July, if I recall correctly.
That's correct.
Was that you, John Walton, or John Paff?
Both of us.
So you want me deans, like more than one, or?
I think the question is, Debbie, when we had the meeting 2 nights ago, you know, we heard a lot of good ideas that were being discussed, but the plan is not final yet for which options we're going to select and how we can inform the parents how school will work starting in August. And the teachers need to understand and be trained. And so if our last meeting is the next one at the end of June, it's unlikely to me that we're going to have that plan completed by then. I guess I could be optimistic and think all that work was going to get done, but it seemed like we were making progress, but there was a lot of work left to do. So it seemed more likely to me that work would be completed and would need to be reviewed and approved by us as plans to however we go back to school or reopen the schools in August. And so I thought meetings, probably plural, needed to be added in July to accomplish that work. I'm open to other people's ideas, but I just don't see how we think we can have one more meeting in June and then come back in August and have everything go smoothly. I think that's overly optimistic.
Yeah. So I agree. But I think that, just thinking out loud here for a second, that I don't think we really know. I know we're making plans, but I don't think we really know what's going to be allowed anyway yet. But I would hope by mid-July, we would have something from government or county to allow us to make those decisions, and the administration also to finalize their plans. With that said, do we want to come up with a date mid-July? And then if we need an additional one, it can be an emergency meeting.
I would like a date of 7/9 and 7/23. I'd like to just, we can uncalendar them if necessary. You don't want a meeting 7/2. Guys, get your holidays. But 7/9, we're going to want a little more information, and then maybe we don't need 7/23, but I plan on 2 and try and center them as usual.
Okay. Anybody else? Brian, do you have any other comments on that?
Oh, he's unavailable at this moment.
Oh, okay. Christy? Sorry, I went right to Brian because he's right after John.
Yeah, well, with all the changes that keep going on, I'm wondering if we should do it instead of 7/9, if we should do it 7/16, which is mid-July, and even if we need another one very quickly and stick with that other one. I just want more information. And if our last meeting is the end of June already, I would just kind of opt mid-July. I'd like to take it. That would just be me. And if we need a second one, we don't need to wait 2 weeks. We, as Debbie says, we can do an emergency one or one right around the corner. That gives admin and staff a little more time, and also more time for directives from the state.
And I understand, but I guess my concern is maybe this is to Ralph or not to put Shannon on the spot from the CTA's standpoint, or the curriculum director, but no matter what the state does or what the county does, once we select what our curriculum is, and I think we already talked about at the last meeting that at worst it will be a complete distance learning model again. At best, it will be a hybrid model. It's extremely unlikely it's going to be everybody come back to school like nothing happened. So if we don't meet until mid-July, how are we going to approve the either complete distance or hybrid models, the hybrid piece meaning the distance piece of the hybrid piece, and approve the curriculum and get the teachers trained? Because we've been saying that we need to be more consistent with tools and the teachers need better training. The school's supposed to start in August. So if we don't give any direction until that meeting in July, is there sufficient time between that meeting and when school's back in session for all the training and setup and all that to get done?
Dr. Porras?
Yeah, I think I understand completely the need and the dates. We could certainly calendar them. What we were going to talk about in the COVID update is that we already in the last couple of days, we've made some significant progress in whittling down the options that we believe as an administrative team, as well as for input with some teachers in the committees, where we're headed in regards to the distance, aiming on a distance learning program primarily, and a hybrid program that's built upon that distance learning program, so that even if we had to shut school back down, we've already begun and laid progress on that distance learning. And to talk about our teacher professional development has already started under the academy that began yesterday. And we have already begun looking at potential dates for professional development. All of that's happened in the last day and a half. So we have been making some pretty significant progress. I think it wouldn't be totally out of the dark to say that by the June 18 meeting, we would have pretty strong components of plans built for our K-12 system. So while I think adding those two dates are fine for us, I think by that time in July, we'd have a pretty good track laid. And then it's just a matter of meeting with our, well, just a matter of, but then we would need to meet with our our CTA and CSA reps to talk about the work impact of those plans so that we can get the dates settled in and moving. So I think we've got a bit of progress that happened over the last less than 48 hours, which was good.
So just to clarify then, so because I don't want to over meeting either. I mean, we all know how much work it is goes into these meetings for the staff and everything. If you feel like there'll be sufficient information to start making the decisions that are the easy decisions, if you will, or the basic decisions at the next meeting in June on the 18th, then I would be okay with just having now, just setting aside the 16th, understanding, you know, on the 18th, we could come back and change this calendar all over again. I mean, that's,
For sure.
we can always schedule emergency meetings if we need to.
Yes.
But, you know, I think we need to at least put one day on the calendar in July, just to set the expectations. As much as I'd like to take 4 weeks off in July and go away somewhere, I don't think that's likely. So, you know,
you have to be allowed to travel first.
Yeah, I would just like, I'd just like to set the expectation so people can make plans, right?
I think Trustee Walton, I think staff would be fine even just saying July 9 and July 22nd. And I think as Trustee Paff said, we can always cancel those meetings if we need to or shift the dates. I think that's reasonable to ask those 2 days. And my hope would be that by the June 18, we'd have enough to take some action on. And then on the 9th, we could just solidify any other pieces that we would need to. That may be a little bit hopeful, but I really do. I think we've made some good progress. So,
okay.
That would be.
Well, I asked Brian, I'm going to open up for public comment time to give you time if you want to raise your hand. But Brian, did you catch all of that, what we were just discussing, and did you have any other comments on it?
No, I'm fine with adding, you know, 1 or 2, whatever, and we can address it later as we need or don't need them. I do think it's a good idea to have something on the calendar so that we're not scrambling later.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Seeing no public comment, I'm going to bring it back to the board, and I'm going to go ahead and make the motion because we can cancel them and or change them as needed. We have in the next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the board calendar future meetings with the addition of a special meeting scheduled for July 9th and one for July 23rd to discuss reopening school in fall as needed. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion to, Dr. Porras, is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm look confused. I'm looking for a piece of paper that I had. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It is the Thursday's the 23rd, Ralph.
No. Wait, when I was just looking for my agenda page where I take my notes.
Yeah, I have my phone right in front of me. Okay, so there is a motion made by Debbie Crandall, second by Brian Swanson for the future calendar, board calendar meetings as noted. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Our next item is action item I. This was our walk-on item, which is resolution number 1054, LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Dr. Porras, would you mind giving us a brief summary on this item? Because I know it's a return item.
Absolutely. There was a request made by a trustee to add this item on. The board approved by 4/5 to add it to the agenda today as a walk-on. This is a resolution that we passed as a board last year at this time. Actually, it was a little bit later in the month to formally adopt this month as Pride Month, and then with the directive to fly the rainbow flag on the district office on the last week of this month. And the resolution reflects that. It's pretty much identical to last year's resolution with the adjustment of the dates. And I think that we had a copy of it already posted, but if we need to, I can have maybe coordinating.
I have it up on my screen. I don't know if the public needs it or not.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. Apologies, but yeah,
No,
that's
it's okay.
that's what it is, and was brought forward requesting that approval, and so we bring that for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring this to the board. Christy, questions, comments?
Well, I remember our discussion last year, and it's unfortunate that students who might feel reassured and supported in the district are gone for summer, but I am absolutely in favor of this resolution and flying the flag again.
Okay, John Paff.
Yeah, I'd like to see it split, frankly. We did that last year. I think it's a good idea because the difference is, the resolution is perfect. But when we start saying flags, I mean, I'm reasonably convinced we should start removing flagpoles right and left and take down. They just take them down. I mean, the super patriotism that goes with them it creates the problem that we're trying to solve with the Pride Month to begin with. So I'm in favor of the resolution, but I'm not in favor of running another flag up.
Okay, Brian.
I'm fully in favor of it, flag included. I wish we would be flying the flag all of June, but I'm happy with I'll settle for the last week.
Okay. John Walton.
I have no questions. I'm in support of it.
Okay. I am in agreement partially with John Paff. I would like, as we did last year, to separate the two items. Dr. Porras, so if that motion is made and approved, do we just need to add action item J?
Yeah, I think what we did last year was the person who made the motion on passing the resolution amended the resolution to remove the flag portion and then asked that it be brought as a second motion separately on a separate action. And that action would be just a direction to the district as an action outside of the resolution.
I'm going to, thank you. I'm going to allow public comment. I'm trying to bring my Zoom meeting back here desperately. Why can't I get it back?
We can see you, Debbie.
And I can see, like right now I see John Paff, but oh, there it is. I got it. Phew. Okay, Carolyn Swanson. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Good evening, Carolyn Swanson again. I don't have the resolution in front of me. Can you clarify the dates? Is it not for the entire month of June?
It is. I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, thank you.
Carefully.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, do you see the resolution?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay.
Well, keep going. Yeah, there it is.
So here's the resolution. It's down here in here. It says, oh, it does say the last week.
That's for the flag, isn't it?
Oh, for the flag. And then design, Board of Education design June 2020. So it doesn't say a date or a time frame. It just says June 2020. Is that what you're looking at?
That's the month that's celebrated, and the flag is for just the week.
Carolyn, was that your question?
Yeah, that was my question. I understood it last year that it was the flag was for the entire month, just to be in alignment with the city of Pacific Grove as well.
Okay.
Last year, if I may, Madam President.
Sure.
Last year we were so late in the month. The remainder of the month was really only a week.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, I'm going to bring it back to the board, and I'm going to make a motion to approve. Bear with me here, guys. I'm going to get the resolution back to me. I'm going to make a motion to approve resolution number 1054 without the flag noted in the resolution, and we'll discuss that as a action item J. I would also like to make part of my motion that this resolution be a permanent part, or at least a 2 to 3 year term for the resolution itself, with the flag removed. I know that was a long motion, but
I think you need to define it a bit more too. Are you asking for 2 or 3 years or indefinitely?
well, I was going to say indefinitely.
You may, if I may, Madam President, just
Please.
recommend to you that if you choose to do indefinitely, you may want to say or until changed by the board, so that a future board may make adjustment on it. Not that they could anyway, but it allows for that flexibility.
Okay. I will amend my motion then to state that the resolution term be indefinite until the board brings it back for, I'm not saying this right, to change it. What did you say, Dr. Quarles?
Until amended by the board. Or until
it's so easy. I'm getting tired, clearly. Until it's amended by the board.
Seconded.
Oh, okay. Motion for the resolution made by Debbie Crandall, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Before we vote again, can you just repeat what we're voting on?
So right now we're voting on the resolution itself only, and to be indefinite until the board amends it.
Okay, so we're not talking about
the flag
at all right now. Just okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall.
Aye.
Trustee Dawson.
Aye.
Trustee Paff.
Indefinite, huh?
Yeah, until the board amends it. Until the board amends it. Yes. It's just it's a resolution. It's not the flag.
Aye.
Trustee Swanson.
Not necessary.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. This passes 5-0. We are going to run out of time, guys. So let's Yep. So next item is the new item we just added, which is action item J, and this is going to be to fly the LGBTQ pride flag for the last week of June. We don't need to discuss it since we just discussed it.
I would like to discuss it. We were late last year, and I understand that therefore we just glommed on at the end of the month. I vote that we fly the flag during the month to show support. It aligns with the city, and I think it is critical that our kids know they are supported.
If that's the motion, I would support that motion in the interest of time. So we.
Okay, I do have a public comment, so let me allow that. Shannon
Also
McCarty?
allow other board comment, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Shannon, can you hold on 1 second, please? Go ahead, John. You're next anyway.
I just want to say, do we next week, does the guy who flies the thin blue line flag get his say? Because, maybe that's equally important. I don't think it is. But honestly, this is a separation thing to me. It's not actually what the intent of the resolution is, which is to bring people together. And I think that we need to actually stop with bumper stickers and flags and allow us to work together a little bit better. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, Brian?
I support it 100%.
Okay, now to public comment. Shannon McCarty, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that this is a really important issue to not only the students to show that our district supports gay and lesbians, but to the teachers that work at our district that are gay or lesbian like I am. This is a big deal for us. And so to make it have 1 week because we were late last month or last year is kind of a slap in our face when they say, oh, we're only going to do it now for 1 week because we only did it 1 week last year. So it really is a big deal. And it really does show our solidarity, and our community understands that when they see it there, and knows the support that our school district shows to gay and lesbian students, as well as gay and lesbian families and faculty.
Thank you. Okay, bringing it back to the board. I didn't comment before, but I just want to make it clear that I feel what public comment mentioned is covered in the resolution, and that's from me, how I feel about it, and I completely support it, and the resolution covers that for me. It's the flag thing that it's a government agency, and like John Paff said, I mean, we can't just draw the line somewhere. We have to draw the line with government issued flags. And with that said, I'm going to bring it back for a motion or other comments to the board.
I think Christy already made the motion.
We have a motion and a second already.
Okay, I thought we had to come back after public comment, but that's okay. So we have a motion, just to be clear on the motion, is to fly the LGBTQ pride flag for the whole month of June. And that was by Christy Dawson, seconded by John Walton. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Nay.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Shannon, I apologize, but I have to vote nay.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye, absolutely.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was distracted. Thank you, passes 5-0.
3-2.
3-2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying that. Whoa. Thank you. For the record, and that is no laughing matter. I apologize, but that passes 3-2.
The way we passed it tonight is going to mean we need to discuss it next year, because even though the resolution was indefinite, we voted for this year only. Is it
correct? For the flag. For the flag, yes.
So, okay, we'll be ready next year. Perfect.
Okay, moving on, and taking time, Dr. Porras, we have 10 minutes. I don't want anybody feeling rushed. I know the administration has some updates, but we also have a meeting on the 18th. Could we just get a very high-level summary from you and then move on? Or how would you, I'll let you handle it in 10 minutes.
Sure. No pressure. No, just kidding. Yeah. Essentially, here's what's been happening over the last day and a half. Our site principals have met together at the both Principal Keller and Principal Rogaman have met, and then the secondary principals all met, and looking at the K-12 program, trying to, number one, sort of debrief on what the discussion was from the special meeting on the 2nd, understanding that yes, there were still a variety of models and options that were presented, and we're able to meet with some staff, and then there's also a staff meeting again tomorrow, with the intent of really funneling down a lot of those options to really focus heavily on, first, creating a solid distance learning program with assessment and accountability measures in place and clear directions for our staff and our students that will be ready to go in August. And understanding there's professional development involved. So we've already begun working on the Virtual Learning Academy with a number of staff members that are being compensated to do that, who can then come back and help other staff members train. And that is specifically for a distance learning model, virtual learning. And then with the understanding that we will still need to train other staff at the very least at the beginning of August, if not sometime in July, with the expense of having staff come back and take a look further at that work. And so that's the first layer that we are already now heading towards. We think we already have the curriculum in place for all of that, as we spoke at the presentation. So the curriculum part's not an issue, that's already in place. The training part is now in the works. It's the layering the schedule that is the issue if we go to a hybrid model. And so we are looking at condensing and consolidating and creating a hybrid model that will sit, if you will, on top of the distance learning model. So it'll use the aspects of what we're doing for distance learning and bring it on board to the school site. So there will be sort of a concurrence of instruction happening based on the distance learning model. The sites have been working all day today, and they will be working with staff to set up a schedule that demonstrates the hybrid model, what it looks like. It's similar to what you saw at the presentation. The elementaries are now focusing on Model 1 as they talked about, but again, still having those conversations with their staff, but that's the focus. That will still permit us to have students on campus on a regular enough basis to be able to do assessments with students, intervention with students face-to-face, minimize the risk of exposure, and allow those students to then go home and continue on their distance learning. The secondary, similarly, are crafting out schedules that show either the 20 or 50% model, and they're mapping out what that looks like for the week. At the high school, it's basically mirroring almost a schedule that already is in place. Again, a high emphasis on student accountability, teacher assignment and assessment, and so that the students at any time could leave the campus, go back to distance learning full-time if necessary, but still provides for students to be on campus at the very least once a week with direct instruction from the staff members, again, to provide support, intervention, and as needed. We're pretty confident that we can make that work. So now it's a matter of fleshing that out a little bit further. And then, as I said, work on professional development with our staff. We anticipate meeting with our CSEA and PGTA reps, who I want to compliment, have been very cooperative. We've all been working together and trying to make this work our best we can. But I think we'll have that system set up to go. Conversations tomorrow and into the next week. That's your snapshot with 5 minutes to spare. I did have my principals ready at the sites to give a short presentation on the work that they've done. But I think at this point that hopefully gives you a glimmer of hope that we're pretty confident we're going to be able to land on the 18th with a pretty solid plan and still provide flexibility for whatever the state or the county may throw at us, because these plans are separate from some of those unknowns.
Okay, thank you. So the 18th, and we'll have, I mean, not hopefully, I'm confident we'll have more information and potentially a presentation again.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Board, you good with that? Christy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
John, okay. All right, I have one public comment. We have 4 minutes. Carolyn? I don't know what's going on here.
There we go.
I'm back. Okay, I have a question. It's a little, I haven't heard it discussed before, and it's about the hybrid model, and it's about sending kids back to school with the pandemic going on. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering about liability for the school district related to it. I'm envisioning, what if a parent sends a child to school and they get ill or worse? How are we protecting? We've talked a lot about how to protect our kids and our staff, but how are we protecting the district as a whole? Is there some sort of waiver, some hold harmless that parents really understand when they're sending their kids? Something could occur. Thank you.
I can answer that if you like, Madam President.
Sure.
The directions to return to school will be under the auspices of the county health department and directions from the governor. As a government agency, we're covered liability-wise by those directives. And so we would make very clear with the parents that these are the protections that we put into place as guided by and approved by the health department. And there will be a more enhanced version of what was on that presentation regarding what happens if we have a student who shows symptoms of COVID, how we address that to the point of final diagnosis by an outside doctor or physician. So yes, we have a liability coverage in that regards with the state, as long as we abide by the regulations that are set by the county and the state.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. Okay. Board, anything else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, thank you. More information for those participants that are on the line, with more information, of course, coming on the 18th, as well as our daily emails. Okay, future agenda items. I don't think I heard anything new. I think we know our plan for the next at least 2 meetings. Dr. Porras, anything else from you?
No, nothing at this time. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. And again, board going once.
Well, yeah, I think Mr. Swanson has his hard hat on, so we'll be able to really move forward aggressively. And I think that's important.
Ready for work. Ready for
Yeah, he's ready. Tear
I
it
was
up.
like, what is she talking about?
Tear it up.
Okay. Any public requests for future agenda? Okay. Seeing none, bring it back to the board with a minute to spare.
Woo!
As always, I just thank you all for joining. Principal Garcia, I know you're still there.
A little bit easier.
I know you're there. I don't know if you're awake, but you're still there. Welcome, and hopefully you get used to these meetings. And Matt Bell, are you there? Matt Bell.
Yes.
I am indeed.
Hello.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
You're awake even. And in your honor, I'm adjourning this meeting.
Hey.
Here. Woohoo!
Thank you all.
Debbie.
See you in 2
Good night.
weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.